Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live Zack Snyder's Justice League Spoilercast. I'm Captain Logan, and joining me this evening is the following panel. Look, it's Conner Nielsen.
Hello, everybody.
And the Day Ghost.
Hello, everyone.
And modding tonight's program and possibly reviewing with us some as well is DJ Martinez. Oh, you'll think of things. There will be things where you'll want to weigh in.
I make an active choice not to think.
I dare you to. I don't know why. I don't know why I've had you here for 2 years then, DJ. It took you too long to finally say that. Like, I shouldn't have a guy working with me who, like, makes an active choice to not think.
No, I'm the voice of the people, guys. I'm here for you. So send me your questions.
I dare you to go this entire time without expressing an opinion. Like, I dare you. That's not going to happen.
We'll see. Stay tuned, folks. Don't change that dial.
Tonight, we're going to talk ins and outs of the Snyder Cut, the 4-hour behemoth. We watched it on Friday night with a viewing audience, which was a lot of fun. A really interesting experience watching it with a group. And then it was the first time that I and everybody, at least in the group, had seen it. And then I watched it again yesterday with my son. And so I've seen it twice. I know Austin has seen it twice. Conner, you've just watched it the one time.
I've seen it twice.
Oh, you've seen it twice. Great. And DJ saw it just that night. So just so everybody knows, that's how familiar we are with the movie so far. You guys feel free to help us direct the conversation in the comments. And thanks for watching live. Good to see you, folks. Thanks for watching after the fact if you're doing that instead. If you want to make sure that a question or a comment or a topic related to the movie gets discussed on air, you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount. We may get to some pre-written stuff here and there, but for the most part, we're going to use those because the spoiler casts, we tend to get kind of, in amongst ourselves, and I don't want to say we forget that the chat is there, but sometimes it's hard to get back to it, so we will make sure, of course, and respond to at least all of the super chats, and we'll let you guys direct the conversation as much as makes sense that we're able to do that. Anime says, cool, Cap's got a Batman shirt on. This is a weird Batman shirt. It's this, like, pinkish, purplish, like Batman. It's very strange. It's a really weird one, but I like it.
I like it.
That around them looks like they have a heart.
I think
they're very close to each other.
I think
also.
it is supposed to be a heart. I think that's the idea. Yeah, it's a really good analysis of my Batman shirt, Austin.
Thank you. That's what I'm here for.
All right,
He does think.
Let's get right into it, guys. We're going to go round robin. We're going to get a best thing, worst thing, and a sign flip from each of these guys, meaning are you feeling it or not feeling it, and tackle that any way you want to. This one is weird because it's a different cut of a movie that we've all seen already. Okay, I'm echoing. I don't know whose side that is, but I'm already echoing. Anyway.
Fine.
So feel free to do as much comparison with that as you feel like you need to, of course, because it's not, exactly its own thing. And away we go. Let's start with Conner, because he didn't get to chat with us at all on Friday. And where are you with this right now, Conner, after seeing it twice?
I think this is, when it comes to any alternate cut of a movie, I've been watching through Ridley Scott's filmography, and Lord knows there are plenty of alternate cuts in that man's filmography. So whenever I get to an alternate cut with him, and any alternate cut, I approach it with this way. Is it better than the original? And were this released instead of the original, would I still recommend it?
Yeah.
When it comes to is it better than the original? Yes. I think that if you do not count Hellboy as a superhero, I think the theatrical version of Justice League is the worst superhero movie that has ever been made. It's completely awful. I hate it. And I recently rewatched it for whatever reason. So the only way you could, like, the bar was set so low, the only way to not clear it would be to trip over it. That's the theatrical version. So is it better? Yes. Were this released instead, would I recommend it? Maybe not. Probably not. But that being said, I do think it is probably the best of Zack Snyder's 3 DCEU films. I think it's honestly one of Zack Snyder's best movies, but I think that it suffers like the best things about it are what Zack Snyder kind of brings to it, and the worst things about it are what Zack Snyder brings to it. I think that the best thing about this is that I like how, more than any other of these DC movies that he's made, I feel like this is the closest he's gotten to that mythic feel that he's wanting to get out of these characters. I think that the flashback Wonder Woman gives us about like the world uniting to fight Darkseid actually approaches like a mythic weight that I was not expecting. And I was impressed by that flashback. I think the worst thing about this movie, though, is Snyder's storytelling is so indulgent that after the first hour of this movie just hyping itself up, and once the movie actually starts, 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 45 seconds into this movie, it gets boring. Like, it gets really, really boring. And I was talking about this with my brother, where Snyder favors the moment over the big picture. And we hang out in moments for way too long. And the 4-hour runtime, you feel it. Like, I watched The Irishman 2 times in theaters, and that movie's 3.5 hours long, and it doesn't feel that long, but this movie feels actually longer than 4 hours to me. But overall, I'm pretty in the middle on this. My coasters kind of got ruined, so I don't have my signs right now.
Oh, that's depressing. You finally got a singular feeling inside, and you've already lost them.
So I'm wearing the red shirt right now. I would say I'm not feeling it, but it's not as hard of a red that I would go for with Man of Steel and with BVS. But I do think that the filmmaking is a marked improvement over both of those efforts. So,
wow,
that's where I'm sitting.
Yeah, a little bit of a surprise for me coming from Conner. I thought that you'd be harder on it. That's cool. I'm glad that you found some enjoyment in it. Let's go to Austin now and see where he is at compared to where he was on Friday. Go ahead, man.
Well, I watched this film instead of 4 hours. I watched it for 8, and I definitely felt the runtime.
Austin didn't have another place to work it into his weekend, so he had to watch it again immediately after the first watch.
Yep, and then I found out today that the plans I thought I had this Sunday were next Sunday, so I could have watched it today.
Oh, I'm sorry, buddy.
No, it's okay.
So everybody factor that in when Austin's giving his opinion, because having to watch the same movie that is twice the runtime of a normal movie 2 times in a row has to cloud your judgment to some degree.
Yeah, well, that is true, because by the second time I was pretty tired of it. But for me, I think it comes in the middle of Man of Steel and BVS. It's definitely better than the theatrical cut. I just don't think this movie's super great. There's stuff I like in it, but overall it just doesn't come together. And yes, you absolutely feel the runtime. For sign flip, I wish I had my own sign, a feeling is gray sign that is gray on both sides, so I could flip gray on this film. But I don't, so I guess I'll flip red.
That's really good. Give me a best thing and worst thing.
Best thing I'm gonna say is Aquaman, because I feel like I like him a lot more in this cut. And the worst thing is going to be the Flash, because he's still terrible, and I think his worst scene is in this cut.
Oh, what do you think his worst scene is? Because I don't agree with you on that at all. Go ahead.
It's his introduction scene where he walks in and he's like, "This is my resume. Oh, my pocket's like a paper monster." And he just says the same word like 6 times in a row. And I want him to die.
It helps for me that way, at least with that, the movie is as long as it is, because by the time he's with the Justice League, I've forgotten about that scene, and I think he's a different character, at least or a slightly different character.
He gets better as it goes on.
He's still got that kind of quirkiness and stuff, but I don't find him irritating after he's met Bruce Wayne, which is nearly the exact same scene that it is in the theatrical version, and a scene that I didn't like there, so of course I don't care for it here. But beyond that, yeah. So, did you give us a best thing?
Yeah, my best thing was Aquaman.
Aquaman, yeah, and then worst thing was Flash. Okay, cool.
As Anime 2021 says, my best and worst is the same as Eric for the theatrical cut. That was an accident
Yeah.
for that happened.
And I talked to Eric today a little bit over text about this movie, and he's come around a little bit on Flash. He certainly liked him a lot more in this cut, just like I did. I had another really interesting experience with this, because this is what the DCEU does to me, man. I watch a movie and I go, I don't think I should even talk about this yet. Why? Talking about it at all while watching it was probably a mistake, because especially the Snyder movies with DCEU are so strange that I don't know what I think about it until I've had time to noodle it, certainly, because I like a lot of his directing sensibilities, and I've loved some of his early movies, and I'm still a big fan of his Watchmen. So when his stuff, kind of looks and feels that way, it's easy for me to get swept up in the moment. Like, and as I've talked about a lot, I had that some with BVS the first time I saw it. The big difference between that and this, and whoever said, was it you, Connor, that it's the moments over the big picture? That's absolutely right. And I feel like the litmus test is, if you watch it the first time and you're swept up in some of that, you might be, emotionally manipulated to some degree. And if you watch it again and you now know how it plays out and all those things that are happening, and you still are feeling anything, and the whole thing doesn't break apart, it's probably then it holds up a little bit. BVS, I did not have that. BVS, on immediately a second watch, I was like, oh, this whole thing crumbles, this whole thing falls apart. I didn't have that with this. I thought it was better on a second watch, and I thought those first couple hours that were quite a slog first time around were better the second time, when I could trust that it was going somewhere that I was going to enjoy later. I want to say before I go any farther that I cannot approach this as a complete, full-on. Well, I say complete. It's too complete. It's got the opposite problem of the theatrical version. It's not a movie entirely, but not in the same way that the theatrical version isn't. The theatrical version is missing all the meat. All the meat is put back in this, and then some. It's also got gristle, and the dessert got put on top of it, and everything. And the popcorn is there. This is, and Austin and I have been throwing this word around a lot, and I think he's right about it. It's a work print. And I don't mind that. I understand why Snyder did that. I just want a more theatrically worthy cut of this at some point. I predict that this is going to be the most fan-edited movie of all time, because all I have heard from people is that, and even people that liked it, maybe especially people that liked it, is there's a great movie in here. Here's all the stuff that needs to be cut out of it. And I keep hearing people say, I want to take these certain things out of it, and it'll make it more watchable. I do not understand what Warner Brothers was smoking back in 2017. I don't get it. I am completely confused by this. And this is the place where the release of the Snyder Cut people were, it turns out, absolutely right, depending on how much of certain things are retroactive in editing, making this now knowing what we know. But 99% of what's actually in the movie was filmed back then. So when Warner sits down and looks at this and says, this is an embarrassment and we can't release it, and it's going to tank our entire franchise, and we need to bring in Joss Whedon to fix it, I don't know what they're talking about. I don't understand that. It shouldn't be 4 hours long. Certainly it wouldn't have been back then, because some stuff was added to it. But, like, really? Warner's executives? You couldn't sit down and look at this and find your 2 hours in it? Like, apparently, from what I've heard, they, like, really insisted on a 2-hour runtime. And with everything that is here, and I don't think this is a super complicated story or anything, it's just that he did go ahead and make it about kind of all 6 characters, which I said in my rewind for the theatrical version is a bad idea. And having seen this, it weirdly sort of kind of works if you have enough time with it, which I'm really surprised by. Like, I didn't dislike any of these characters in the Justice League. I can't believe I'm saying that. In BVS, I didn't think I was looking at characters. These felt like real people to me, to some degree, at least in places. And I don't want to get too in the woods with this yet. We'll talk about everything as we go along. I guess I just need to do my best thing, worst thing, and all of that. But I just wanted to start at the place of I don't know how this happened, and we're really lucky we got to see it. And like at the end of the day, this for me is more of a really interesting historical thing, and I'm really glad that we got to see it. But it also hurts my feelings because a at least 2.5 hour movie could have been pulled out of this easily, and it would have salvaged a lot of things. I think for a lot of audiences. I don't think that this tanks the box office the way the theatrical version did. I think that word of mouth gets around, and it doesn't have the drop-off that BVS did on the second weekend. I think possibly more people go to see it the second weekend when people go, it's not a train wreck, and I understood what was happening. As soon as if somebody had said to me when this came out, it's not a crazy complex mystery plot, and it's really Snyder just making, like Connor was alluding to, a big fantasy epic, like this is Snyder's Lord of the Rings with the Justice League, I go, well, that's not a bad thing to do with the Justice League. That makes perfect sense and completely sets you apart from what Marvel is doing. The thing I loved about BVS was that it didn't look like a standard, modern day movie, that it was really stylized. It looked really comic booky. It was maybe darker looking than I would want a thing like that to be if it's your introduction, or if it's, your first time seeing Batman and Superman together, all of that. But it was exciting to see something that stylistically comic book. And this delivers me that, plus characters I don't hate. My best thing is, and we'll talk about length and all of that, my best thing is the Justice League gets along. Like, they like each other, and I like them together, and it's essentially an adaptation of Jeff Johns' really horrid, I said this in the rewind for the theatrical version, really horrid first arc in the New 52 Justice League series, and it's way better, and Zack Snyder made it. It just doesn't even compute in my brain, because BVS was this, really cynical Superman's not cool enough thing, and Batman's gotta go beat him up, and then I get to Justice League, and it's it's got a somber tone, which is warranted because of Superman's death, however I feel about how we got there, and it's self-indulgent, but it isn't self-important, which blew my mind. And, the characters get along. They were kind of fun to see on screen together. Aquaman's got a cool relationship with everybody. He's got that conversation with Wonder Woman about how the Atlanteans and the Themyscirans hate each other. And then they get to the end, and they both have that line that is that figure of speech that's in both of their cultures, and they're like, I don't even really know why we don't like each other, and that was good. And he's got that fun stuff with Cyborg at the end, and that was good. The character dynamics. The last thing on earth I thought I would say with the best thing in this movie is character dynamics. It's nuts. Worst thing is the Nightmare Batman stuff at the end, and that it's not, it's just not warranted. It shouldn't be there. However I feel about the actual content there, it shouldn't be there. This is, the big mistake that HBO Max made, or that Snyder made, or both, is in deciding after it was... Warner's decided, or AT&T, I should say, HBO Max, not to put the whole thing out as, piecemeal, week to week, like they had originally planned, not going back and re-editing it and making it shorter, because what we got was what they were going to put out for those 6 weeks. I'm convinced of this. I think what happened was each of those chapter headings are where the breaks were supposed to be for the episodes, and they just left them in. They just took, what the episode titles would have been if that was a TV show, and they left them in the movie, and they just presented it to you. I saw some people in the live comments on Friday complain at us that we shouldn't be watching it all together because it's not meant to be watched that way. They were like, well, they dropped it all at 4 hours, but there's clear chapter breaks, so you can turn it off between those if you want to. I'm like, but it's a movie. They released it this way. They intended you to watch it that way. I don't care that there's actual... It's weird that there's chapter breaks. They're like that because they ended up releasing it as kind of both. Like, nah, it's a movie, and Snyder wanted to put it in the big screen, so I really don't understand that argument. And I'm not going to spend this whole time just arguing with people that I didn't agree with that night, but I'm bringing that up to say that it needed to be one or the other. They either needed to release it in episodes, like they said they were doing, which would have much more warranted Zack Snyder showing us everything he shot the way he's doing, which, by the way, is not everything he shot, because there's going to be another cut with an alternate ending, and I've heard crazy rumors like there's actually 9 cuts, and I don't understand that whole thing. But anyway, what were you going to say, Connor?
Do those people think that Pulp Fiction should be watched in parts as well? Do those people think that like all of Tarantino's movies that are cut up into chapters should be watched in parts? I don't know. That's a terrible argument. I don't get that.
I don't understand this. Apa there in the comments, thanks for the comment, says couldn't make it to TV shows due to contracts. If that's true, why did they announce it that way? Because it was announced as a TV show, and my guess was they changed their mind when they decided to release the whole slate of movies this year. They went, well, if everything else is releasing as full movies, we don't need the Snyder Cut to bring people in anymore over several weeks. We're going to have something like half the weeks of the year.
Well, this is Warner Brothers, who are stupid, and one of the films they announced were going straight to HBO Max was Godzilla vs. Kong, and then they had to pay out Legendary because they were like, whoa, you can't put our film on your streaming service?
Well, then maybe they didn't know that. Maybe they didn't know that they couldn't break it up into episodes.
So they might just say things and then realize that they can't do it.
But if that's the case, if they find out that legally they can't, do you guys agree with this? If legally they can't release it as a TV show, you don't release. At the very least, you take the chapter headings out.
Yeah.
I
don't know. Like, I think that when it comes to the chapter headings, so this is Snyder more than any of his other movies, like making an epic movie, and I've seen like epic movies like do title cards for different parts of the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think that's like, I could see why he would put that in there. I mean, would it be that way if it was just like released in theaters? I have no idea. I mean, I don't think they necessarily need to be there, but
I'm just saying if that was originally the reason, like, I kind of like the idea of the chapter headings, but I think it's because they're 6 is my thing. It's like, that's how many episodes it was supposed to be. I can see what they did. It's weird they just left it the way it is. Like, I think there's maybe even more natural breaks if you don't do it that way. But I'm not sure. I would need to look at it again before I could make that claim. Is it 6 in an epilogue or is it 5 in an epilogue?
It's 6 in an epilogue.
That's what I thought. Okay, so I mean, if I was releasing that as episodes, I would have released it as 7 and let that epilogue be its own thing. Especially because then you can actually finish the movie when the movie is over and not watch the other tacked-on episode of television that they threw at the end. And I'm a little hyperbolic in saying that because there are at least 2 things in that epilogue that should be in the movie proper, I think. But other than that, all that nightmare stuff is. And I wouldn't even mind the nightmare stuff as much if it wasn't a dream again. Now it makes even less sense, because Flash doesn't show up to Batman at that point. He just is dreaming, and he's in... And it's almost the exact same shot as a dream that he wakes up from that is not related to the Nightmare Batman sequence in BVS. It's very strange. Almost looked like they shot it on the same day or something.
I guess that's Batman's superpower in this universe, is he has premonition dreams now. Or something.
Yeah, he's not just rich.
Yeah.
But that would have taken longer to say, and it wouldn't have been as quippy, you know. I can see the future sometimes.
Well, that would have been the Whedon quip, right? Like, what's your power? I saw you in my dream.
So this whole thing is really awkward to me. I'm gonna go ahead and flip my sign green. I guess I'm the only one here doing that. DJ, having only seen it the once and with us, would you be willing to do a sign flip?
Probably not. That viewing was mostly us goofing around, and
it was
probably pretty colored by everyone else. And I think we all had the same experience that night. And then it sounds like you had a different experience the second night.
I did. Although, I say I had a different experience the second night, I was enjoying a lot of things about that second half and having to kind of ignore the group. as we were watching it, because there were places where people were still making fun of it. A lot of stuff where I was like, I kind of like what I'm seeing on screen right now, you guys. So I was already definitely having something of a different experience than some of the folks in the group, but I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I just think that overall, I ended up liking this a lot more than everybody else. Understand that also my opinion is colored by the fact that the last viewing I did of VVS was over a month. And I mean that actual viewing. It took a month to go through the entire movie and write about it with that 5-hour rewind. And it's very difficult not to compare it to the last thing that happened before the theatrical cut. Obviously, it's a sequel to that. I've heard some people get upset with folks that went into this expecting it to not be good because they weren't, like, you know, taking it on its own terms or whatever. I'm like, well, it's a sequel to a thing that a lot of people, including myself, thought was really convoluted and didn't make any sense, by the same guy who swears by that movie. And like, it never came out and said, like, yeah, we made some mistakes, I'm going to try to work on that next time, or if only you could see my cut of Justice League, it's not like that. Never said any of that. The man swears by him and also calls that movie differently than what I'm watching. Like, when he's talking about that movie, he thinks he made something that is different from the thing I made. But his Justice League is him seeming to have learned from some of those mistakes without realizing, at least verbally, that he learned from some of those mistakes. It's very strange.
I'll give this to Zack Snyder. It seems like with each one of his DC movies, he's wanting to approach it differently.
There's
like,
that.
All three of them have different cinematographers, and I think like this movie, at least from a cinematography standpoint, is the one I like the most, because Man of Steel is a lot of handheld camera. It's trying to emulate that sort of real world type Nolan flavor. And then, like when you talked about in your rewind, is a point I entirely agree with, is where Larry Fong comes in to do BVS, and it's so hyper stylized, but it's like kind of awkwardly trying to be both Watchmen stylized, but still trying to retain a sort of real world pontification stuff.
And then you go, how does it even fit in the same reality as that last movie?
Yeah, and then this movie, the director of photographer is Fabian Wagner or whatever. I'm not familiar with this guy, but I think that as far as I think this is the most tonally consistent of all of his movies, and I think that the tone and the cinematography kind of fits in. There's like almost no handheld camera at all in this movie. It's all on like cranes and locked down, and there's like establishing shots, and it's like it's crazy.
Yeah,
like,
I know that really surprised me too.
So I
There's
was
like
kind of
establishing
impressed by
shots.
that. Yeah, and like the color palettes are like different between the movies as well, and so I kind of like that. That's what he's trying to do. So I don't know. Maybe the set like this might be the one that plays the best for me. And with Justice League 2, he's just going to try to go for a whole new genre and shake it up and go do something crazy again. But I don't know. I kind of like that about it, and that's kind of what I like about Zack Snyder, is that I don't really like his movies, but he's an interesting filmmaker. And I mean, I really don't like BVS, but I've seen that movie like 12 times or something because I find it interesting.
It's really fascinating. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't watch that again, but I probably will.
Yeah.
So, Connor, let me tell you why I disagree a little bit with, or why I don't like something you said you like. I don't like that he's changing up the look of it every time because it's kind of one story. I wish it wasn't. If he was telling like totally different stories that weren't all that connected, maybe he could set up things for the next stories. But like, this is another setup movie. The man's made 3 setup movies in what was supposed to be a 5-film epic. I'm not convinced that his 5th movie wouldn't have been more set up for something that he was never going to make. Like, that's what he makes. He's backwards from, and I compare him to Todd McFarlane all the time. I cannot help myself. These are both visual masters who do not know how to tell stories. Somehow a story kind of got told here. I think it's because it's simpler and it's more in his wheelhouse, and it's not a complex mystery plot. And Snyder should be nowhere near those, just like Todd McFarlane. But in their in their storytelling styles, what they do the backwards thing, which is tantamount to the same thing, which is Todd McFarlane likes to keep changing the present or keep the present stagnant and keep changing the past. So, like, nothing ever happens in the present in his stories. He's just retconning all day long in the past, and that's where the actual storytelling is happening, but it's just constantly changing stuff. Snyder's doing the same thing with the future. He likes to keep jumping us to the future and changing the future and like going, oh gee, I wonder what's going to happen in the future. You got Joker at the end of this talking about alternate timelines. He's retconning a future that hasn't happened yet in every movie. That's what they're about ultimately. It's really strange, but that's what he's doing. Get rid of that stuff and just tell different adventures with these characters. First movie, Superman has to deal with Zod, and it's his outing to the world. Second movie, Batman and Superman have to fight so that Batman can understand what the point of Superman is. Third movie, the Justice League forms and they deal with Darkseid. And the list goes on, but the problem is this is the beginning of a big Darkseid epic, and you can do a huge 3-part Justice League thing where that's all overall one movie. Connor, I'm not convinced that the next movie wouldn't have had the same cinematographer. I wonder if I wonder if it wasn't like the first and second movie are totally different things, and then at this point he decides that he's making one big 14-hour film between these three. I'm honestly not sure.
I got a prediction because Snyder's next film on Netflix is called Army of the Dead, and he is the cinematographer on that. I will bet you if he gets to make Justice League 2 and it is all in like the nightmare future, he's the cinematographer for that movie. I will make that bet right now.
That's really funny. How close, if he's the cinematographer, and I don't mean to get too far off base here, but if he was the cinematographer for his own movie, how like what cinematography that he's used do you think it would be closest to? Because I think he would try to ape the Watchmen guy.
I think it honestly might end up looking a lot like Man of Steel, because like Larry Fong does have the a lot of rim lighting and it's very stylized, and I think we would get that element to it. But I think as far as it would be a lot more warmer colors because it is going to be in the nightmare future, with oranges, and everyone's going to look sweaty and browns and oranges and stuff. And it's going to be because the nightmare future at the end does have, that's where all the handheld footage in this movie really is. And so I think it would look like that. So that's my
where we can't focus on the Joker's face and it has to keep being all blurry, and then we keep moving the camera to zoom in on his pointing finger constantly. I guess just because he's creepy, and somehow it makes the Joker creepier if we're all over the... it's like the Joker shot his own scene?
Yeah, basically.
That would have been better,
it was Jared
right?
Leto Joker shooting it, and not the real Joker, so it was just a mess.
I wish that whole sequence. I wish that whole sequence had just been Joker blogs. Remember the old YouTube show Joker blogs, where it's just him talking into a camera, and he's just yeah, it's the Joker blogs. I'm in this nightmare future. I'm gonna hand Batman a card. And tell him we can have a truce, Bruce. It's a Bruce truce.
Bruce truce.
So anyway, where should we go? So, one thing I wanted to say, before we move on, and then, DJ, I'll have you start throwing some questions out, is, like I said, I have a hard time reviewing this as a complete piece. It's too much on top of a complete piece. There is a 2:15 to 2.5 hour movie in here that is ultimately really solid to me, that I like quite a bit. Even that I wouldn't call a masterpiece or brilliant or anything. It's just a good, solid superhero flick, and a lot of what I would want from a Justice League thing. I said in BVS that it is kind of wrong for either of those characters to be treated as the definitive versions of the DC superheroes, where it feels like an Elseworlds thing. This is certainly going its own way, but Man of Steel did that too with Superman, where it turning a lot of stuff on its head, subverting things. I felt like if it had the right sequel, that could have been the definitive Superman. That didn't feel like an Elseworlds thing to me. It just felt like a modern update. I had issues with it, but it felt enough like a modern update. And then BVS didn't. It was an Elseworlds thing. This, I'm back to... I could live in a world where these were the definitive theatrical versions of these characters. I really could, and was really surprised that I had that. But the problem is the movie that we have is not altogether. Well, it is altogether, but then some is the problem. It's what I want, but there's a bunch of stuff in it that I don't. But more of it is just that it's too long, and then it's got all that slow motion stuff in that first hour especially that just does not need to be that long. Like, it was, again, opposite from what I had with BVS, where I went, I'm watching a scene, I don't know why I'm looking at this scene. Why is this here? And then looking at it later, dissecting it, I'm going, and also this doesn't make sense with this, doesn't track with this thing, and I don't understand the timeline, and this scene could be put anywhere. Didn't have that anywhere in this movie. There's not one place where I saw a scene where I could take this scene, I could put it anywhere in the movie. Do not have that with this, and that's really exciting. Connor, do you agree with this? I don't think that there's any, really, with the exception of what I would call, maybe there's 3 of them, what I would call music videos with 45 seconds of slowed down footage. With the exception of those parts, I don't think that there's an actual scene, like where storytelling is happening, that is superfluous in this movie. I think they just go on too long. But I think all the connective tissue is there. I think all the scenes matter.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I feel like it's not that the scenes themselves could be put in any order. I think that you could just remove some scenes because they're redundant. But I don't think it is the BVS thing where this one scene is happening here, but it could have happened 20 minutes ago or 20 minutes later.
But do any of them feel overall totally pointless, where you're like, that's there for no good reason?
I mean, I guess this counts as like a weird music video thing, but the one I think of is where Aquaman rescues the guy. I'm surprised we didn't see him walking on water to save the guy in the boat, but
okay, that's fair.
But like that scene, like if that scene was Aquaman's introduction scene, I would be cooler with it, but we've already been hanging out with him.
There's a triple beat with Aquaman's introduction. It's ridiculous. Every time he shows up on screen for the first 2 hours or first hour and a half, we pretend like it's the first time we've seen him, and I do not understand that. But as far as the actual save with that guy, yeah, but if you made it the length that it actually is, if it's not in slow motion, it's a 25-second scene. Like,
well, it's also funny because that scene is made more important in the theatrical cut because he saves that guy and then he finds out that his ship sank because of parademons, and that's why he goes to Atlantis to get the mother box. Well, here it's just he saves this guy, leaves, and he's off doing his own thing again. You
know what? I'm going to retract what I said, and maybe you'll find some more that I'm not thinking of. That is a pointless, superfluous scene. It sounds like that does not actually really need to be there. I don't hate it. It's just silly that it's one of those kind of music video things. And those things are so on the nose, man. When he's walking toward the water and about to jump in, and he does the thing with throwing the bottle. It's the "There is a king," and I'm like, this is so on the nose, man. You might as well be narrating the scene that we're watching right now. He's walking down a pier, and he's an Atlantean with his shirt off, and look at the tattoos. Like,
that scene in particular, like, that feels like we have 50 different angles of this shot, so let's just use all of them and slow it down. And yeah, you're right, it's on the nose music. But if it was his introductory scene, I think we'd be more forgiving of it. But it's like his second introductory scene, and it's like over a half an hour into the movie. So it's
real quick, let me give you a place where I will totally understand what Zack Snyder is doing. There is this fan base that really wanted to see all the material he shot that didn't get used in the theatrical cut, and he's giving them that. And I'm not gonna begrudge him giving them that. Some of you guys might not agree with me. Some of you guys might, for the sake of a better piece, want all that stuff taken out. This is, it's one part. It's 2 parts of something. It is one part a movie, a better version of that movie, and it. Luckily, thank God, it's better, and not completely wasting my time. And the other part is a historical relic that we're finally getting to see. And I'm not going to begrudge him putting all of it out. I just kind of wish we'd gotten a more trimmed down regular person movie, because I was really surprised that the last 2 hours feel like a real movie, like a normal movie. And then give his fans all of that. Give us that first. Put that thing out. But it wouldn't have satiated the release of Snyder Cut people. And that's why he did it.
This should be the Lord of the Rings thing, where we have one that just anybody can watch, and then you have the extended one. This is the
extended one.
Except the extended Lord of the Rings also aren't just straight up work prints. I guarantee there's stuff that's cut from those too.
Yeah. I thought okay, sorry. I'm thinking of lots of interesting directions to go, and we'll start doing super chats in a minute. This is what always happens with these. But real quick, so Eric said something that cracked me up. And I thought about it, and I went, well, this is sort of in the theatrical version, too, but I'd never thought of this, so I want to tell you guys about it since we're there. So Aquaman's walking down the pier, right? And he's got his beer bottle. And it's that really dramatic moment where he throws it, right? And Eric goes, his whole thing is people polluting and ruining the oceans. And he said, it's a small little thing, but that was the thing that most cracked him up, and he laughed about it for 5 straight minutes.
Look, I actually think the first 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 42 seconds is like the better part of this movie.
Ooh, I'm not with you on that at all.
Because I don't know, like that's like, it's all prologue and it's all set up and it's like prologue after prologue after prologue.
But it could have been 10 minutes long.
Oh no, it could have been. I just think Snyder's better at like cutting a trailer for the movie while you're watching the movie than he is at making an actual movie. But I think that like
you don't like the Justice League stuff.
Oh no, like I like the.
You were bored once the team formed, because that's what it got me. That's what I was like, yay, superhero movie.
I enjoy the film's climax, actually quite a bit. Like as far as if you're just grading like Man of Steel climax, BVS climax, Justice League climax is like a lot better. It's like a
way above it, like
scene.
this, yeah, way above it.
But I'm just saying that like I think that the movie's structure is bad, and like after the like it feels like when they're like the Age of Heroes has to happen again, part 3, you're like, okay, here we go, and then the movie like resets to Act 1, and you're like, oh, and then it's like you're like just kind of like I got really bored waiting for the team to just get together, and then once they got together, like there's some like neat ideas, but I was just like so worn out, and like where my emotional peaks and valleys was kind of off sync after that point.
Okay, can I ask you a question? And this is not me saying if you didn't do this, you're wrong. Okay, I'm not saying that. But did you take a break in the middle like we did?
No.
So here's what happened. We watched the first 2 hours, and the first like hour and 50 minutes, and we took a 10-minute break on our live watch on the channel. Right? I went upstairs and I went to my wife and I went, this movie is really boring, and I do not want to watch any more of this. And it's not what I was hoping it would be, either a way better movie or just a bunch of insane, crazy things that happen. I would have taken either of those. And then when I sat back down, I watched a movie. Like from that point on, it was its own movie. So
Connor, that's your fault for watching it all as a 4-hour film. You
I
should
should
have
have watched
taken
it
a break.
in 6 parts.
There are chapters for you to take breaks.
What am I doing?
Understand, Connor, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that had I watched it all in one actual sitting like you did, I may have also had that. But I had time, I had, at least 10 minutes to think about it and kind of dread more of it, and then sat down and was pleasantly surprised by like normal person pacing and stuff.
I think actually like I was dreading it, and then I watched it and I was like, hey, this ain't that bad. And once it kind of won me over, I was like, oh, it's not that good. Oh. And so, but what I was
That's
gonna
okay.
say is,
And it
like,
didn't win me over until
Rollercoaster.
later on, until well after it did you, yeah.
But that being said, even like the part of this movie I like the most, it is like you were talking about Aquaman like polluting, this movie is so full of weird Snyder moments, and this is like what makes the movie fascinating to me is like, for like 5 to 10 minutes is just Superman, it's so funny. And then like there's like I have a whole list of weird moments in this movie. That's what kept me like kind of interested. I think the weird Snyder moments kind of go away when he's like, okay, I'm done hyping people up for the movie that they're actually watching right now. I actually have to make the movie now. It kind of gets boring. He's like, okay, you got to do this, we got to do that. Okay, it's a very serviceable team up movie, and like you said, I'm glad they just get along. There's not a moment like in the theatrical version where they have a disagreement about whether they should bring Superman back or not. That doesn't mean anything because Batman's going to bring him back no matter what. And so they all kind of agree to do it anyways. And so like I like that part of it.
And there's conflict. There are some places where they argue a little bit and they're unsure of stuff, but they're giving each other the benefit of the doubt. They all know that they're there for the same reasons and stuff. Like they fit together and like they know it right away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like that
and,
aspect.
and I like that, like, all of the reasons that certain characters come in before others and can't decide, if they're actually going to be part of the group, aren't like, this Batman guy, he's kind of a jerk face, I don't like him. It's all personal stuff. It's like, Aquaman has, like his own personal reasons. He's already got a job. He's already being a superhero. He's saving people where he is. And I like that it's not that superficial thing it is in the theatrical cut with Aquaman. It isn't just he doesn't want to be told what to do by somebody. It's that he's got a lot going on. It's that before it's anything, which was quite relatable. I'm seeing this a lot, so let me go ahead and read this real quick. Nameless Baron says, "Geez, it's almost as if they released the Snyder Cut originally, it would have been better." So I'm seeing a lot of people that really like Snyder stuff being really facetious about this. We're like, "See, we were right all along." Yes and no is my answer to that. You were and you weren't. So I think so. It had to be pared way down. If it was, and it never would have been released the way it is, obviously. Some of this wasn't even there. Some of it couldn't have been edited the way it is now. You have to keep hindsight in mind. You have to remember that this wasn't fully put together until 4.5 years after it was shot, at least. So there's no way to know exactly what that movie would have looked like. But like I said earlier, what Warner should have done was not brought in another director, but simply put together a shorter version out of the footage they had already. And yes, that would have absolutely done better. But the problem was honestly Whedon. It was the guy they chose. I am convinced that what he made was, by and large, and I said this to some degree in the rewind, I'm doubling down on it now. I think Whedon made a parody of a movie he thought no one was going to see. Because there are a bunch of scenes that he reshot with almost intentionally sabotaging dialogue. There's that crazy bit where, so when Superman is resurrected and then goes to the farm with Lois, he's got this part where she says, and this is, by the way, in this version, the second time we see them, because we have downtime, and they're in the house for a little bit, and then they're outside, and we get to live and breathe with that a little bit. And that first scene, I think, is pretty okay. It's well written. It's fine in the house. And then when they're outside, and the second part is fine too. In this version, I think it's fine. And Lois says, in this version, you're talking now. Like, they've been together this whole time, and he hasn't said anything. Or maybe this is, I forget. Yeah, it's that second scene. You're talking now, and he goes, "Was I not before?" And Whedon, I think, just to be a jerk face, changed it to, "You smell good. Did I not before?"
No, that just sounds like Whedon dialogue.
Why'd you do that? Right, but Austin, he took a thing that was there already, that was kind of fine, and was giving us a sense of passage of time, and he, like, intentionally made a joke out of it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, like, he's making fun of a movie. He's making a parody of a thing that he thought we would never see. Almost as if to amuse himself.
Yeah, that feels like an inside joke that they decided to make a real thing, where somebody overheard it in the distance. Did she just say he smells good? He went, "No, but we can make it that now.
Could put it in there."
And then that's how that happened, I guess.
And I don't mean to pit Snyder and Whedon up against each other too much. And this is nothing about, recent allegations and issues with Whedon at all. I don't want to get into that, obviously. But I have liked a lot of Whedon stuff. I have been a big fan of properties of his. I like Avengers. I like Age of Ultron. It has the opposite problem of this. It actually did need to be 4 hours. But he was the wrong guy, and he changed things that didn't need to be changed. There was almost nothing he needed to do to this except cut stuff out of it and speed up footage. And in the theatrical version, he did speed up some footage. Austin, I forget if it was you or somebody else the other day that was talking about how after seeing this, you could kind of see what he was actually trying to accomplish. Would you talk about that a little bit? Because I think you made that point.
Well, yeah, my point was just I could see what he was streamlining, where it's like Steppenwolf's the main villain of this film, cut Darkseid in the opening, make it Steppenwolf's because he's the villain of the film. Just stuff like that. Like, he just does very simple streamlining stuff to make it 2 hours. I don't think that makes it good. I'm just saying I could see what he was doing in that
I think it makes it a lot worse ultimately. Here's the thing: if your mandate from Warner's, this is what's so sticky about it. It's really easy to look at, and I know I'm kind of doing this. It's really easy to look at Whedon and go, "Well, God, he just really screwed the pooch on this. You just really screwed the whole thing." But some of it might have been mandates from on high. Things like the example I just gave, I don't see any point to that at all. And there's several examples like that.
Yeah, it's just random minds. I was talking more so broad plot stuff, like
Absolutely.
that Aquaman thing I mentioned earlier, where he jumps straight from that ship to the mother box, and they add a line where they're like, "Oh, he saw parademons destroy his ship," and Aquaman goes straight from that scene to the mother box scene. It was just stuff like that.
But there's no reason to cut Darkseid out of the film because it's a New Gods thing. We mentioned Darkseid in the theatrical version, and Steppenwolf does not make sense as a villain by himself. There's no reason to cut Darkseid out unless Warner's has so little faith in what they have now that they're never planning on making any more ever. Because when you add that stuff back in, suddenly it makes a little more sense, and Steppenwolf has some actual gravitas now. So yeah, that was that. Like you're absolutely right, Austin. I see what you're saying, but that seems like a thing you would only do if it was a mandate from on high, where Warner's is just trying to salvage a thing that they think is unsalvageable. We've seen it now. It wasn't unsalvageable. What were they talking about?
To your point, Austin, like watching this, like I understood how the theatrical version wound up the way it was a lot more. And I will say though, like I mean, I hate the theatrical version maybe more than anybody else here. I think we maybe give Joss Whedon too much crap for it personally, because
I agree with that.
Given these actors playing these characters with these costumes on these sets, it needs to be exactly 2 hours, and on top of it all, like it needs to come out at this specific time because doggone it, before Kevin Tsujihara's out of here, he wants his bonus before 2018. And so he has to do it all. So I forgot
about that aspect.
I think it's unprofessional, and I think what Whedon does add is really bad. But that being said, I think like you give that to any filmmaker, and that's basically like they're going to make a bad movie no matter what. Would it have been as bad as the theatrical version? Maybe not, but it still would have been really bad. And so I do think though that like Whedon's not the one responsible that we should be laying the blame at for that cut. It should be like in your rewind, you say you put the blame at the studio, and you're absolutely right.
I do, but I'm gonna blame him for a little more of it than I did before. Now that I've seen this cut, because there's a bunch of stuff that's changed that I don't understand what the point was at all in changing it, unless the studio said, "Here are these scenes that we, for whatever reason, don't like, and we want you to just slightly change dialect." Like, took stuff that was fine and made it stupid. I don't understand that. And he was the guy that made it, and his name is on the script. So like when I thought too much of what's here was, we should talk about the percentage thing. We were led to believe by Fong and some other people on the project that a lot more of the original cut was Whedon's than actually was. I saw a lot more here than I expected to, that I recognized, with little tweaks that were way better, and I'm going, well, Whedon's the guy who tweaked them wrong. And like, if he was brought in to salvage the thing in just making it shorter, and like if he's told to get rid of Darkseid and stuff, like I said, that all I totally understand. But there's those little moments where you're just like, it was fine the way it was, and now you ruined it. Why did he do that?
Well, also, you have a guy.
Why does he have? But when you say sorry, Connor, I'm gonna fight you for a minute. When you say that anybody who came in was gonna make that a bad movie, why did Batman have to be lying on the ground bleeding and internally, and then there's a joke made about it, and then he's fine 10 seconds later? Why did that have to happen?
That's what I'm saying when I say it might not have been as bad as the one Whedon turned in, but it still probably would have been bad. Like, yeah, no, like Whedon definitely deserves some blame, but
you didn't have to change so much. You just cut things.
Yeah, somebody said that only 10% of what they shot originally wound out in this. Somebody lied.
Somebody lied.
But what were you going to say, DJ?
No, I think another big thing is
this is an opinion from DJ.
Complete opposite. You have a guy who has completely opposite sensibilities of the guy who made the film that you have to edit. And I think that Warner Brothers wanted him to make, they're like, here's this film that this guy made with complete opposite of you. This is Snyder's film, but we want you to make it a Whedon movie. So he felt like he had to add a bunch of his dialogue and his humor to the movie, which was shot by Snyder, felt like a Whedon movie, which is just a mess.
Well, it's kind of got that Guardians, Suicide Squad thing, where in editing we have to make it Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Yeah,
Except
we're in
for,
editing.
like,
We have to make this
stuff.
Avengers. Yeah.
And yeah, this movie is like a case study in like the importance of editing. Like tone and like everything comes down to like just editing. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Editing and color palettes and stuff. Yeah. DJ, go ahead and start throwing some, because that makes a big difference. Go ahead and start throwing some super chats at us if you would. We're already in an hour. And we'll let the audience start directing the conversations a little bit, and we'll get more into the nitty gritty on this. Go ahead.
All right, first one was from Michael McAllister, $4.99. I have to commend all of your efforts watching this behemoth twice in one weekend. Here's $5.
Yeah, it was honestly easier the second time. I can't sit through a 4-hour movie without getting up a couple times. I'm just not capable of doing that. But after I knew where it was going, it was overall pretty pleasant looking at it a second time for me. But thanks for that.
It was harder the second time for me. It was like, here we go again, rewind.
Imagine if this had been back in the 90s, Austin, where you would have had you'd been watching it on VHS, and you would have had to listen to the 4 hours of tape rewinding before you played it back.
Yeah, my wall would have been covered with all work and no play, make Austin a dull boy at the end of that second viewing.
He's got he's got a tape rewinder sitting next to his VCR.
Yeah,
he presses the rewind
Snyder
button.
Cut copies, so I can watch one and rewind the other.
TH1 gave us $2. He says, I feel like this was a lot better than it should have been.
I was really surprised by it. Now, again, like I said, my standards were way on the floor. I don't know how to not talk about this just in relation to what came before it, because I can't, when people say like, well, it's really unfair to have any, expectations or anything. Like, I'm a human being that has seen what I've seen and written about what I've written about. There's no way around that. I can keep as open a mind as humanly possible and hope to get some enjoyment out of it. And I ultimately ended up doing that. But like I said, before we even saw it, it didn't have to do too much to impress me. And it actually impressed me a lot more than I thought it would, because I ended up liking characters, and I didn't think that was possible. I have been wondering, by the way, how much of that had to do with a couple of studio mandates, if there was some micromanaging going on that should have happened, which is because sometimes studios are right about things. And I have read, and I think I talked about this in the Rewind, that Jeff Johns and a couple of other consultants were there on set, making sure that Snyder didn't put in anything too dark, and that they were apparently responsible for some of the levity put into the film. And I wonder if the Justice League gets along better because Jeff Johns is there on the set, which would be really ironic given his first arc of Justice League. But I think that's possible. And then he got hired on to work on movies after that, only to get tossed away, apparently mostly because of Justice League, which is really funny. But if that's all true. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, if he had made this movie directly after BVS without that movie coming out yet, I really don't think it would have been as good as it was. I think the backlash had to happen, and I think he learned from some of that, even if he won't admit it. Or even if it's accidental and subconscious and he doesn't even know what he learned. Because I think that is also possible.
Malcolm Davis, $5. I'm kind of concerned about Superman's brutality at the end. Is it supposed to be bad or cool? Still really like this movie, though.
Well, it's fine because he was doing it to, like, parademons and Steppenwolf and stuff. It wasn't, like, human beings this time, so...
But Wonder Woman was doing it to bank robbers.
We don't talk about that scene. We'll just pretend like that wasn't in the movie, and it shouldn't have been. It was pointless, and I don't know why it was there, so let's just pretend like it didn't happen.
There's another pointless scene, then.
You're right. That was a pointless scene. That was a very pointless scene.
Oh, speaking of pointless scenes, how many times are we going to check in on sad Lois Lane? And, like, the weird, like her character arc just gets, like, subverted where she's like, I gotta get over Superman. Oh, hey, Superman came back. Oh, I guess I don't. Okay.
That's true.
Why did we have all those scenes of her?
Martian Manhunter scene was pointless.
We'll talk about that in a
Oh my
second.
God.
Okay, fine. There were pointless scenes, but it didn't feel like they were pointless while I was watching them, except for that one. That one did. Okay, you know what? While we're there, let's just do that. So, Martian Manhunter. Somebody might have already left a super chat about it, but we'll talk about it. So, you're Martian Manhunter, right? And you've been hiding in the shadows and pretending to be other people and watching what's been going on this whole time. And you decide to go talk to Lois Lane about her feelings and her problems with Superman dying as Martha Kent. And then you go into a hallway, and then you reveal to an audience that you don't know is there that you're Martian Manhunter, and then you turn into a 4-star general and you walk away. And somebody might see you in that hallway and be like, "What are you doing here, General?" And he's like, "I'm busy being Swanwick." Like, I don't know why any of that happens. It's all so retroactive. I'm not saying that it was decided after the movie was made that he was Swanwick. Obviously, they shot that. That was there already. I don't think those are pickups, and like recent pickups. And the guy who plays Swanwick said months ago in a tweet, yes, the rumors are true. I was supposed to be Martian Manhunter. But I don't understand any of that. I don't know how he knows anything about Martha. Like, he's telling Lois.
He's giving us exposition about like where Martha's
and
living.
then when we go see Martha later, it's all confirmed as really being what's going on. I don't
Did you shoot
understand.
that scene and then the Martian Manhunter aspect came later? Like,
That was a BVS
Yeah.
scene. Well, okay, when I said no scenes were pointless, I mean like the actual Justice League scenes. There's these other weird scenes that belong in this totally other movie.
I got a question. So he starts talking about how like Martha, Martha's, as we're watching it, Martha's talking about how she got Clark's things. She's living near the diner. Was that just Martian Manhunter collecting intel on her, and that's how he knows it, or has he actually gone to get Clark's things from the Daily Planet? Like, what's going on?
Well, when we see Martha later in the same scenes that were in the theatrical version, we have to assume that at that point it's actually Martha and not Martian Manhunter. It's not Martha Manhunter. And so I don't understand why
name?
I don't understand why he says any of that. There's this great moment where she goes, this is Martha, and while we were watching it, Jason was like, "Why'd you say that name?"
I got a question.
Professor Zoom says he can read minds, Cap. When was he close to her? And even and yes, you're right, but Martian Manhunter, unless we made it like Superman where his powers have like no range at all and he's just like ultra super powerful. But even if that's why he knows that stuff, maybe he's just sipping tea at a diner. But why did he do that? And why is he giving her exposition about Lois? Like, doesn't he expect that at some point the real Lois will maybe talk to her and say everything she just said? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Why did he even go there to begin with? And speaking of which,
I don't know.
If I'm Whedon, there are two scenes I don't know why you like reshooting. One, all the stuff on the farm is like the same length as it is in the theatrical version.
That's what I'm saying. Why did you reshoot
Why is that
it?
And then secondly, like there's that scene where it looks like Martha and Amy Adams' blood pressure is so high, like they're gonna have a heart attack. Like their skin is so red when they're at like the Daily Planet. Why didn't you just take this scene of Martha going to visit Lois, cut out the Martian Manhunter stuff, whittle down that conversation a little bit, and then just make that the scene?
And here's another thing too: if you have to have Martian Manhunter showing up to Batman at the end, as in like. He's too good for after credit scenes, but it would be a good after credit scene if you were gonna do that. You don't need to introduce him earlier in the movie, especially if it doesn't make any sense for him to be there. Like I think it's a great reveal potentially. I would put it somewhere else because that epilogue is overall kind of dumb and shouldn't be there. But have Martian Manhunter do exactly what he does. He shows up to Batman. He says, "I've been here for a long time. I've been watching. I have a stake in things on the Earth too. I liked that." He goes, "You guys are looking for members. I'd like to join your Justice League." That's a good payoff to we've got 6 chairs, room for more. And then Martian Manhunter shows up. I'm going to be one of the more. Yeah, sure. Just have that scene. We don't need to see Martian Manhunter before that, and we don't even need to know that it's Swanwick. And if he's played by the same actor, and you recognize his voice and you happen to notice his face, you might go, oh, I guess that's who that was supposed to be. You could if you reworked that, you could have him show up to Batman's door as Swanwick. That would have been good. Having said all of that, why is Martian Manhunter a general and then a senator?
Well,
That's weird.
The best part about that whole thing is he shows up to Bruce and he's like, I've been like sitting underground for too long. It's time I finally like take a part in this world. Meanwhile, he had a part in the whole Man of Steel thing and the Doomsday stuff because he was a general.
Yeah. He's had a part in it in that he's given orders that would have gotten soldiers killed. And that doesn't sound like Martian Manhunter to me. Like, maybe he's reinventing that character, but I don't know what his motivations are. I don't know why he's a general. Like, Martian Manhunter is like I don't want to call him a pacifist, but like he avoids violence wherever he can. Usually, like that's weird.
Snyder saw the Supergirl Martian Manhunter twist and was like, "Ooh, that's good."
So a lot of people have been saying that. I don't know how true that is. That might be true.
That's just how I feel about it.
I think his CG looks about the same.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Yeah, his head looks so weird.
I don't like the design very much either. Like the weird glowy thing that's supposed to be like the straps on his costume and all the weird lines on his face. I don't like the way he looked very much.
DJ, I want to read a couple of more recent super chats because they're related to things that we're talking about right now, and then we'll go back, if that's okay. Desi Rondo, $5 super chat. The Wonder Woman scene was mostly there because at the time they were piggybacking off the Wonder Woman movie. The fans wanted to see her. Wait, sure, but did it have to like not be all that relevant for the rest of the movie? And did it have to be the Batman and Superman thing from BVS where there's two different versions of her? Why is she killing people like that in that scene? Why is she throwing them up against walls and having blood all over the walls just because Snyder thinks that looks cool? Like, look, I get that she's different from Superman and Batman in that she has been a soldier in war and is willing to kill people. None of those people had to die to accomplish what she was trying to accomplish, and they certainly didn't have to die as violently as they did, even if they did need to die. That you'll never convince me that's not just Snyder going, blood on walls is cool! Blood on rocks, but also really cool!
She's killing people in front of kids.
Yeah, there's kids there.
In front of like building. Girl Scouts or whatever. They're probably not Girl Scouts. In front of little girls that want to be her because they, like he hopes the audience, are conveniently not noticing the actual content of what we saw in the action scene.
That scene, by the way, I just don't like that scene. It is like the epitome of, well, we need to introduce Wonder Woman, and let's slap together a scenario. Some people want to blow up 4 city blocks, and that's gonna send us back to the Stone Age. How? I don't know. They're crazy. And he's gonna use like the lasso of truth, and she's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "We're a group of reactionary terrorists." I don't think a reactionary terrorist would self-identify as a reactionary terrorist. Like it's just like full of like weird things like that.
If you pull out the lasso and you put it on a person, you say, "Who are you?" The response would be, "Bob."
Yes, and then like another just like funny Snyder thing that is why I like Snyder movies is like he picks up a gun, he's gonna shoot the kids, and he goes, "Nah, assault rifle." Makes me laugh every time.
No, it's nuts.
And then he shoots.
Instead of running
Woman
straight
stops it, and then he just like holds on it for like 20 seconds while she stares at him, and then he starts shooting more.
He's like, "Wait, hold on, semi-automatic? Nah, fully automatic."
I was just standing there the whole time like...
That was the scene that I was most annoyed turned out to be a Snyder scene, because I thought Whedon did all of that. We needed some kind of introductory Wonder Woman scene, and then it turned out that was a Snyder thing, and now it's longer, there's more to it. At least we got rid of the I believe her bit, because I hate that. Like, that's gone now. That was another thing where he changed a different line to be like, you know, sappier, or I don't think he's making fun of the material at that point, but it's just bad. I don't know. Because in this version, it's believe me, and he turned out to do, I'm a believer. Like she's a big Monkees fan or something. I don't... Jason had a brilliant point when I watched it with him. That's my 10, almost 11-year-old. About the lasso, where there's this bit toward the end where, or maybe toward the middle, where Steppenwolf is like, "I burned your island and I killed all your sisters," and Wonder Woman goes, "Liar." And then they start fighting, and Jason goes, "You're Wonder Woman! Pull out your lasso and find out if he's lying!"
My favorite part about that is because you told me about that, Cap, right before I got to that scene. And her delivery of that is so bad.
Yeah,
She
like
says that and she's like, liar. And then they keep fighting.
I think the worst line readings by Gal Gadot sound like Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory. She's like, the closer you get to the darkness, DD. It's so funny sometimes. No, I think Gal Gadot's pretty.
my stupid Themyscira sisters!
Okay, another weird Snyder moment is like where like the girls at Aquaman's village start singing, and you're like, okay, you see the ripples, and then we're gonna cut to the next scene, but the audio is gonna bleed.
Then it goes on for 3 more minutes for no reason.
And then she picks up the shirt and starts smelling it. I'm like, of course, Zack Snyder, man. What was I thinking? Like,
The Mothra
funny.
girls from the old Godzilla films just show up and start singing.
Yeah, and then she just gets like right up in the camera. And like Snyder's idea of visual drama is people getting in a camera doing this.
And Affleck's like, forget this, and he walks away, and the scene keeps going.
Because it really is just him like holding up very often. And again, I liked this movie a lot more, but he's still doing this. I have to watch one of these movies like at least 2 or 3 times, because the first time around it's like, is there any story actually even being told? Because each scene is just him holding up a Wile E. Coyote sign going, feel something. And then I have to decide if there actually was anything worth feeling. And in this, there was some, which I appreciated. We'll talk about this later, I guess. But particularly with, like, the Cyborg and his dad, like, all that stuff, it worked for me fine. But, like, feel something.
Be moved.
Quantum, $5 super chat. The Martha Manhunter scene was weird, but still better than Whedon's version of turning it into Lois was thirsty joke. That was terrible. Yeah, it was, but I don't really want to compare them myself, because it's not even her. This is a scene with a different person. Like, I'm glad that scene was gone.
I dislike both scenes, but sure, Whedon's scene is worse.
Yeah, it's worse, but this, well, and the thing is, if this, I mean, Connor, I get Connor's point that, like, I don't know why we have to just keep checking in with Lois, I guess because she's the key, Connor. But, like, I don't know why we have to just keep checking in on Lois until Superman actually shows back up and she's relevant to the story, but forgetting that, let's say you just really care about that character for some reason, and you want to, and you want to, see where she's been and what's been happening. I don't know that that's a terrible scene, Austin, if only it's not Martian Manhunter. Like, it's certainly written a lot better than that Whedon scene, and it's basically just there for a little exposition. Like, I think it's honestly one of her better scenes, because she doesn't make me want to throw up anywhere in it. Like, I hate this Martha Kent with a burning passion. She didn't say anything stupid or cynical, and she didn't give any weird looks where she's like, I'm giving you wonderful motherly advice. Look at me, I'm great at advice. Like, God, that drives me insane in the theatrical version, where she's like, she doesn't do that anywhere in this, so that was good.
I realized that Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman's moms all kind of look the same.
They're not all called Martha, though.
They're not all Martha, that's true. Well,
You just think all women look the same?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
doesn't look the same. To Martha,
How does shrivelly old Martha look like a giant Themysciran, warrior woman?
I'm not seeing it. What do you mean?
Mira shows up, and Connor's like, why is Martha underwater?
Yeah. No, like,
Mira, why'd you say that name?
So I can call her Martha. That'll be what I just call Wonder Woman's mom.
You think she looks like Martha?
Well, no, it's like, I think Diane Lane kind of looks like an older version of Connie Nielsen, and Connie Nielsen kind of looks like an older version of the lady from The Walking Dead, who was Martha Wayne, in the BVS. Like, they kind of have similar, like, facial structures and, like, face shapes, and I don't know. I think they all sort of look similar. I don't know if that's a deliberate choice or not.
Interesting. But if that's true, I did not notice it. I did notice, however, the name Connie Nielsen. And I pointed it out when we were watching it on Friday, and I said, look, Connor's in this movie.
No, it was funny. Like, I was watching it, my phone just blew up, and everyone's like, bro, congratulations, you made it! Thanks, guys.
Have you seen my earlier performance in Wonder Woman?
Yeah. You know, it's
Also
so
me.
funny. Nobody was like, "Hey, Connor, you're Wonder Woman's mom." When like Wonder Woman came out, and I was like shocked. And then like Justice League is coming out now. Everybody's making that observation, and I just think that's kind of funny.
Just because the opening titles were on the screen for so long that we could not stop seeing her name for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
DJ, let's go back. Well, look, he's got 4 hours he has to fill. DJ, let's go back to Super Chats. Would you mind?
No, not at all. Robert, $2. I think Snyder wanted to give a bonus to the fans. So, kind of what you said earlier, Cap.
I think I actually had that Super Chat in mind when I made that point, and then I forgot to read the Super Chat.
Oh, well, that was Robert.
But we haven't
Thanks,
addressed it. Yeah, thanks, Robert. Appreciate it, man.
Blue Ranger X11, $5. That epilogue scene is not just a dream. It is the beginning of Justice League Part 2.
It sure is, and it's also a dream. Yeah, I'm not saying that it isn't a premonition. I'm saying, why are we... When I said just a dream, I just mean, why is it still a dream? Like, if I use the word just, I didn't mean to do that. I'm saying that it's still dumb because I don't... Or at least it feels dumb because I am now 7 hours into this epic, not counting Man of Steel, you know, where all that stuff starts, and I still don't understand how in the world Batman is getting those visions, and I hate it, and it doesn't make any sense, and Snyder doesn't know what it is either, and I don't know if it was ever going to make sense.
And it's also like Leto still sucks.
I
It's one of the worst
hate
scenes
him
in the
so
movie.
much.
He's terrible.
So bad.
And it's like every line he's trying to do an impression of something else. I'll be the bigger man, Batman.
So this was another conversation I had with Eric, and Eric actually liked him, which I was surprised by. I think because Eric said, well, it looks like he's finally got a take on the Joker. I didn't think that we'd ever see that, and he expected him to just to give the same performance that he gave in Suicide Squad. I did not. I thought he would come in and do something completely different, and that's what he did. And I'm with you, Austin. I thought he kept doing like kind of a Ledger, and then kind of I don't even know what he's doing, but yeah, I thought he was jumping around a lot too.
Well, he's half Ledger, half Jim Carrey, and that's what his Joker has always been, and it's just more of that. It's terrible.
I mean, I agree with Eric that it seemed like a different performance than what he did in Suicide Squad. I just didn't think it was good, but also we don't get enough of it. I mean, like, if he was in a whole movie, I don't know what it would look like, but you guys seem pretty doubled down on that would suck. There's no way he would be... it would be worth watching. But
I cannot believe Leto gets to be the first person to play the Joker twice. That's insane to me.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Jeez.
He's the bigger man.
I wonder if, because I'm sure folks know this and I just don't. I wonder if Snyder cast him originally. Like, I wonder how much he was involved in that.
Well, apparently, because that's a reshoot scene. Apparently, he approached Leto, and Leto was like, "Nah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to be in this." And just through talking about it, he got Leto on board. And yeah, that was one of the only scenes that they reshot.
No, I knew that, but what I mean is, I wondered if maybe Snyder really wanted to bring him back because he had something to do with his casting originally in Suicide Squad.
Oh, I have no idea.
Because he very much had his hand on the reins, and we were talking about Snyder back then like he was the Feige of this universe. Like, the whole thing was his vision. I thought maybe he was involved in that. And like, he loves Leto, and that had something to do with why Leto was around, but I don't know if there's any truth to that.
Based on what I've heard, that was all air, but I could be wrong. He could have been involved in that.
Yeah, Spoon did says I don't think Snyder cast him. Like, I was just wondering because my thought was, why bring him back? Nobody liked him, or at least I don't know anybody that liked him.
Snyder did, apparently.
Yeah, I guess so. Or he's just trying to be consistent.
I feel like Snyder has this mentality of, even if it doesn't work, he just wants to like try to make everything fit. Like, I don't know, he sort of has like this, people didn't like, I don't know, that's like the Quentin Tarantino part of him, I feel like, where it's like, you know, people don't like John Travolta in the 90s because he like, but I'll put him in Pulp Fiction and people will like him. And, oh, Jared Leto was Joker and people didn't like him, but if I get my hands on him and do something different with him, people might like him and stuff like that. I feel like that's sort of... And
to some degree that's working. I keep seeing articles about how great people think he is in that scene, and I don't get it. But also, I'm not going to throw all that at Leto's feet because I think that scene is horribly written.
Well, a lot of that is him ad-libbing, apparently. So, like, the "We Live in a Society" is all him ad-libbing.
But let me ask you
Like,
this:
that's
so
not in the movie,
we
but...
didn't bring Affleck back for that scene, so how was that even cut together? Like,
No, we brought him back.
oh, did we really?
That entire scene, they brought those people
I
back.
didn't know
and apparently,
that. Okay.
yes,
okay.
because apparently the suits they had were falling apart, and one of the the back cowl he's wearing had to be taped together because it ripped when he put it on.
like Lord Zed's costume.
That's really sad. Wow. But yeah, when
He
Affleck
also-
starts, like, that is such a. I'm sorry, folks that really liked that, but this is just how I feel about it. So I mean, like, I'm just gonna call it like I see it. That is the most fanficky thing in that movie, and there's a lot of fanficky type stuff in BVS. This was fanficky in the sense of like here's popular stuff that everybody loves that I love too, and let's make a really big deal out of it. Like the part where he starts rambling on about or I guess not rambling on, but the part where he's like, Harley Quinn told me that when you died, make it slow, and I was like, wow, what is this? What is this dialogue? And he's got a chance to confirm in the canon retroactively. This late in the game in a movie he thought nobody would ever see which Robin it was, and he doesn't do it. He doesn't do it. He doesn't, like, he has said in numerous interviews, it was Dick Grayson that Joker killed, not Jason Todd. Could have name dropped him, didn't do it. His name is not in there. Unless I missed it. Pretty darn sure it's not in there.
I like how Mara, who's British now, by the way, I like how she is like, what do you know about Lost Batman? It's like, how long have you been around? Like, Batman's whole thing is that he's lost people he loved. Like, that's why he's Batman in the first place. That's why he continues to be Batman, because everybody keeps dying. Like, what the heck was that?
Renwick Davis, we need to leave before he finds us. Okay, wait for me to have a 10-minute conversation with Joker. Oh no, Superman is here. We're all gonna die. Who knew he would come? Gengar Venom, Batman said the F word, so it was cool.
And when I kill you and make more mistakes,
I will effing kill you. I have not seen my son lose it that hard in a long time. Jason thought that was just the best.
The second he said it, Crawling by Linkin Park should have just started blasting in the background.
Stephen Murphy says maybe he's referring to John Blake with his birth name. That's what he meant when he said Robin. Oh, it's so dumb. I was entertained by it, but not the right way. That was the way I expected to be entertained, that whole movie. The problem was, by the time we got there, I thought I was watching, like, a movie? So then I went right back around to, nope, don't want this anymore. I did like that Joker had, like, 15 police badges. I thought that was pretty fun. That was a very Joker thing to do. I like that.
So at least the costume designer gets Joker, I guess.
Yeah, and where was his crown of thorns? I thought
that'll be in the Justice's Gray cut.
I don't think any of that. So Zack Snyder, I've always said this, is a music video director before he's a film director. And when you're making music videos, you have a tendency to shoot a bunch of like really dramatic promotional shots to sell the video. And I think Snyder does that with his movies. I think a lot of those images we saw were him just taking pictures of people doing stuff and being all artsy fartsy. And I think when he had Leto there, he just put a crown of thorns on his head, or he photoshopped it. Like that's what I think.
So
I don't think that was ever in the movie, but we'll see. Maybe
maybe
it is in the Justice's Gray cut. By the way, Justice is not gray in this. It's like very clear bad guys, very clear good guys. There's no social commentary hardly in the movie, which is one of the things I found really refreshing about it. Like, Snyder is still really pretentious. The movie itself, not all that pretentious. Like there's a little bit of a thing in the background of people being divided. We're not even told we're talking political division, but it makes sense that that's what it would be. So, like, okay, we're politically divided, so we can't get together to fight a big threat like this, like we did 5,000 years ago, and it's just in the background. And it's a problem, but then we just tell stories about people. I didn't think Snyder would do that.
I did not also expect that either.
And there's a lot less Jesus imagery, but it's still in there.
Oh, one of my friends who was probably hating it the most while we were watching it, he was like, because we had pools, like, how many F-bombs are there going to be? How many prologues are there going to be? How many named characters are going to die? And how many epilogues will there be? About halfway through the movie, he said, we should have added, like, Jesus imagery to, like, the queue, man. Like, oh, man. Because he was getting burnt out on that. And I'm like, wow, I'm amazed because there's not as much here as there is in other Snyder stuff.
Let's talk about this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, what I want to know is if that Thorn of Crowns thing is in the Justice
The Thorn
Gray.
of Crowns. There's this Thorn of Crowns. It's got Thorn. It's got crowns all over.
Crown of Thorns. I'm tired. If that's in the Justice's Gray cut, does that mean that, like, Superman is Jesus and then he becomes evil, so a serial killer clown becomes Jesus in his place? Like, how does that fit in the symbolism?
Bro, we thought Superman was Christ, but he's actually the Antichrist, and Joker is Jesus, the return of Jesus, the second coming.
He is the bigger Jesus.
He's the bigger Jesus.
It's just provocative. That's all it is. Like, I don't turn my brain off except for at things that do not deserve my attention. Senior Nerd says, good Superman, black suit, evil Superman, bright red and blue. I mean, just what? Yeah, exactly. The black Superman, or the black suit thing, is already irritating, and I don't like it, and we should talk about that. But it's even worse that he's still got the red and blue suit at the end, and you know, in the Nightmare Future stuff. And you can say, well, that's because we're being consistent with the first movie. But then, riddle me this, is it for sure? We'll never know now, I guess, unless he does get to make more movies when Warner's changes their mind for the umpteenth time about what they're actually making. But is it the same future? I don't know. You don't know. Joker's talking about multiple alternate timelines. We don't know. We know we're in a future that looks a lot like the one that we saw in BVS, but Batman took information from that he used when he decided to go try to kill Superman that could have changed that timeline. We don't know. So it could have still been a black suit. If it was a black suit, it would have told us it was a different timeline. So I suspect that it is supposed to be the same one somehow. But, like, don't do the black suit at all if you're going to stick to, in the future, evil Superman is wearing red and blue.
Yeah, I thought that was, like, a strange thing. I think you're right. Like, they think they're being consistent with the first one, but, like, if you are being consistent, then you just spoiled Batman's death in BVS in the future. So it's yeah, and I think these are all supposed to be, because they're writing themselves into a corner so that they can eventually just go writing themselves out of the corner by saying it was alternate. It was an alternate future. It was a possible future. That's what it is. And, like, they're gonna write it. I will bet you that's how, if they do continue with it, that's how they'll write it off. So
yeah,
turns out Batman was just crazy. It was just weird dreams.
that's true.
I haven't looked at all the outlines and stuff. We know a lot more than we used to about the rest of those movies. I haven't looked at everything, so I may be off base because I haven't read everything. But my assumption was always that we were never going to lead to a movie where the whole thing was that future. And I think a lot of people have assumed that that's where it was all going. I kind of doubt that was ever going to happen. I kind of think that was all, like, stuff we were trying to avoid, and we just keep seeing bits of what we would ultimately avoid in the future. But I don't know if I'm right about that.
I would be tempted to agree with you, but, like, Cyborg has that vision where it's like, if we make this choice, this is how the future is going to play out. I don't know how he gets that vision, but, like, I feel like them making that choice solidifies that future. At least that's what I feel like the movie's trying to communicate to me. But I don't know.
Even if we didn't have a whole movie that was in that future, we'd wipe it out by the end. Like, there's no way that whole franchise ends with, like, a post-apocalyptic night. Well, maybe. I mean, I guess you can't put anything past Snyder. Like maybe.
Maybe.
But he brought Superman back. I mean, like, when you kill your first, and I realize that it's Death of Superman, and we raised him from the dead in the comics. When the first, big surprise thing you do with that, we're killing off all these characters, is you kill Superman, you bring him back the very next movie. There's no reason for me to believe that you will keep anybody dead, and that any of that scary future stuff would stick.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't know. Let's talk about the black suit thing for a minute. It is bad because we don't talk about it at all. And I suspect that's because while it was being shot, well, I don't know for sure. DJ, I'm very confused about this because you keep throwing stuff at me about how it's all color corrected, but then we've seen screenshots where he was wearing a black suit. So I'm very confused about this whole thing. Our screenshots, we've seen production photos where he's on set clearly wearing an actual black costume. And for a while, I assumed that they weren't allowed to do the black suit like Snyder wanted, so he just color corrected it later. But I can't tell because they made
that's what Snyder's come out and said. He said he wasn't allowed to, so he changed it after. So I don't think you've seen actual set photos of him in a black suit. I think those are touched.
Well, I remember there were set photos.
They sure didn't look it, but I guess there's no way to know for sure because that's stuff you can easily Photoshop. But I really thought he had a real black suit. If he didn't, the whole thing makes a whole lot more sense because it's very strange that there's no discussion. How does nobody react to it? How does when he shows up, nobody goes, "Oh, he's wearing black now"? It's weird. Nobody talks about it. And why would he pick that? There's no explanation for that. And then at the end, when he does the thing that you'd figure would be the last scene of the movie, and he pulls his shirt open, and we see the Superman symbol, it's still the black suit. I don't understand any of that. And I love the black suit, and I want it to make sense. That's the problem. Is I like what it looks like. I like it's nostalgic for me. I'm a big that Superman person. There's no reason for it.
So is there a reason for it in the Death of Superman storyline? Because I've not read that. I know I mean I've seen it, but what is it going for in that storyline?
So when it's a little convoluted. It's not great. That's not the best part of the book, by the way. But when he comes back, he's brought back in the fortress, kind of by the fortress robots and stuff, and they give him that suit. So and the original red and blue he doesn't have access to anymore because it was destroyed in the Doomsday fight. So it's a capeless suit that he's given in the fortress, and obviously it's more about symbolism than anything. But yeah, in this he has a choice of a bunch of suits and he picks the black one, and it's made even weirder because I don't know if you remember this, but this Superman has seen a black Superman costume before. It's what he was wearing in the mind meld with Zod when he's falling through a bunch of skulls. And I don't know why you would want to wear a thing that would remind you of that moment.
Yeah, speaking of Man of Steel, are we just never going to talk about the Codex ever again? Is that just something that we're just dropping entirely?
Why would we keep talking about it?
Because it's all of Kryptonian's legacy living inside of him. The whole Man of Steel movie revolved around that.
But he doesn't have it anymore.
But he does have it.
No, he doesn't. It's taken out of him.
Yes, he does, though, because the thing is, they take his blood, they're like, oh, look, there's actually the Codex inside of his blood. And then Zod's like, or then the scientist guy says, hold on, we actually need all of his blood in order to have all the Codex. And then Zod is like, wait, does he need to be alive for us to extract it? And he says, no. And then that's when they go into the climax, and that's why he wants to kill Superman.
I forgot about that moment. I thought there was something later that made it where somehow he actually lost the Codex, but it's been too long since I've seen it. I can't remember.
Are you thinking of the scene where they're on the ship and I think they have the birthing pods or whatever? That's what they're gonna put the Codex in to have new births, and Superman destroys it.
Yeah, but Superman destroys it, so the Codex would still be in him. I gotta go back and look at it.
That's what I mean. Are you mixing those up?
Maybe, I don't know. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've seen it, and I'm sure I talked about this in the rewind. I keep hearing a bunch of people every time I bring this up go, Cap, there's this bit you've forgotten about in Man of Steel. He did lose it, and I assume they were right about it because I haven't seen that in a long time. So I think I'm making somebody else's point for them right now. Maybe they're totally off base on this. I haven't seen the movie in probably 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I just think that it's strange that in Man of Steel,
if he still has it, you're absolutely right.
And I heard rumors.
And I said that for the longest time, but then a bunch of people told me I was wrong, and I believed them.
I think it's. I heard a rumor. Somebody had told me when I was doing a live stream at one point that there was a rumor that the reason he comes back to life is through the Codex, is what kind of reanimates him, and that's not here at all. As a matter of fact, the resurrection of Superman is just as kind of random and out of nowhere as it is in the theatrical cut. But I think it's weird that we had Batman versus Superman, where we actually killed Superman, and we don't talk about like the Kryptonian legacy and all of the generations that live inside of him. When he gets resurrected in this, you have that bit of Jor-El saying, "All of Krypton lives in you now," and it's like,
I thought it was weird that was in there because I thought that wasn't true anymore.
I don't know. Like, I just think it's weird that the Codex has just been completely dropped, and that was like it was like us symbolizing him as the last son of Krypton in Man of Steel, and we just dropped
it. Especially because he was the MacGuffin of his own movie.
Yeah.
Malcolm Davis, I'm pretty sure the Codex got sucked out when the Phantom Zone killed all the other Kryptonians. That's not in the movie.
No.
And if that is the case, someone has to talk about that, because how am I supposed to understand that's what's going on? And even if it was, that's really weird. Like, he doesn't lose his blood, and he's Superman. He's bulletproof, but somehow the Phantom Zone can take specifically that from his body. Okay.
The Phantom Zone is very selective. It wants everything to go inside of it except for Lois, so she can fall, but like everything else got to get sucked inside of him. And then, Superman can fly away, but I got to take that Codex as a trade, all right? Like, I don't know. The Phantom Zone's weird. That's the way it's behaving.
Did you guys have? I'm sorry, I kind of took over and just talked about that for a long time. Did you guys have any thoughts about the black suit? Any feelings about that?
No.
Just pointless.
No. Reminds me of the Spider-Man 3 black suit where it's just recolored.
Yeah, it's annoying.
See, I don't mind that with this. I wish the cape was silver, but it's not the same thing as the Spider-Man black suit to me, Austin, because in the comics it's pretty much just a Superman suit that's black, except it doesn't have a cape. I mean, like, it's different. Like in the comics, the Venom suit is a different suit, so it's stupid that they just recolored it. But like, I don't. What did you want different from this? Like, did you just want a completely different design so that you couldn't say it's just recolored? Like,
well, I mean,
that's what it is.
Liked the silver to pop more, either no cape or a silver cape. I don't know, something. Yeah. Yeah,
that'd be nice. But I suspect that if this cape was silver, you would still be complaining that it's just a recolored Superman costume.
I don't know. I shrug at your questioning of me.
Well, I've just heard a lot of people say that, and I'm like, but what else do you want from it? Like, as far as what other elements you put on the costume, that's what I'm not getting. Like,
yeah, I guess I just wanted it more to look like that costume. Just like remove the cape, brighten the silver on the symbol.
If you took the cape off, it'd be great.
Oh, apparently John Kelling says in a super chat that the black suit in the comic was to absorb solar radiation.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's the part of that arc I always read the least. I usually skip it.
Yeah, and I own all of that.
Well, if this threw a line in the movie about that, because he's weak, because he just came back to life and needed to pick the black suit instead of the blue suit, then it would have a purpose instead of just looking cool.
But then you have to pay what's-his-face more money to do more Jor-El dialogue.
That is
people
true.
are saying that the Phantom Zone only sucks like Kryptonian things through it. So I guess like the rubble and debris that was from Earth also went through the Phantom Zone before it, was built. So yeah, okay.
And again, guys, I don't mean to call you out, but where are you getting any of this from?
I guess all of like Christopher Maloney and that general or that doctor guy, I guess they've also been to the Phantom Zone. That's why they got sucked into it.
Oh, you mean Emil Hamilton?
Yeah, Emil Hamilton. Yeah, I guess he went to the Phantom Zone. That's why he's getting sucked in. Yeah, that's not in the movie, guys.
Okay. As much as I like Salty Connor, I'm gonna get back to some super chats.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna put some pepper on it. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, no, you beat me by half a second.
Keep going.
All right, hold on. We gotta go back to John Kelling's super chat real quick. Somebody's complaining that Austin didn't read the whole super chat. That's why you gotta be careful about super chats, Austin. If you're gonna read one, you gotta read the whole super chat.
Take my job. You better do it right.
Sorry, I was just throwing out that one point.
I know, but we might forget to go back to the super chat now because you did look at it. The movie Black Suit is edgy and badass. I mean, I don't know that it's edgy. It's the black Superman suit, but it doesn't have, a silver cape. Like, I like the look of it. I'm glad it's in there. I just wish there was a reason for it being in there. I guess I'm not glad it's in there, and I want to be glad it's in there.
All right, next is from Heckers the Inventor, $5.
Hi there.
I went in happy Snyder got to make this movie his way. I left stunned it was legit good, especially because Warner thought it was a disaster. Really? That was him. I wasn't like critiquing his comment. He wrote really with a question mark at the end.
Yeah, not to be a jerk or anything, but when
Oh,
I
that's
watch
more salty, Connor.
no, this is like affectionate Connor. Like I have like the very much
That's
like,
also creepy.
like,
I'm just kidding.
all art, all film is art, and all art like it's like some kind of an emotional experience with somebody. So like if somebody likes something I don't care. Like if you have something you like, that's great. When I watch like Batman versus Superman, I'm like, how can anybody like this? But people do, and that's great. That's awesome. Watching this, I get why people are liking this. Like unlike Man of Steel, like there are scenes. It's not like you're watching a scene and then it just gets interrupted halfway by like a bus going over a bridge or like a coup happening or something. Like scenes are happening, and like I like it. Like I don't know, it kind of has the shape of like a movie. I kind of dig that. But yeah, no, I agree to a degree with that super chat.
I like how my basic standards for what a story and a film are kind of met. you see where we're at now? Like that's where we're at with this stuff.
Yeah, that's why I feel like if this were 2.5 hours, if you cut all the nonsense and just like shortened it, there could be a solid enough movie here that I could be like, this is all right.
And see, Austin, I'm finding it really easy to ignore that stuff, and I think it's because, and I don't think I would be doing that if it was released in the theater. Again, I don't think it would be released in the theater. This is just a horse of a different color, man. Like,
But I think they are doing, aren't they doing screenings in the theater?
they may. That's not my point. What I mean is,
Okay, sorry.
if I saw it in the theater in 2017 when this was supposed to come out, and this was what we got, I don't think I would be as selective where I'd go, this stuff is terrible, but I really like this stuff, so it's easier to appreciate the movie. I feel like, I don't mean to be a broken record, but I feel like I'm looking at like a first draft that's supposed to be whittled down later, and it's easy for me to do that editing in my head because I know the job's not done. And so when I look at this, I'm enjoying the movie that like is in there, but like it's easy to cut those. I'm doing like a paint by number. Like it's really easy for me to do that with this.
See, and I'm like, do your job, Snyder.
Sure, but it's complicated because his job is different now. Because in his mind, and this is not wholly true, I guess, but in his mind, this mostly happened because of a bunch of fans that really wanted to see this. So he's trying to give them everything.
Yeah, but he shouldn't be touting it up like this is my original vision with all that stuff when it's clearly not. If he's putting more stuff in that he wouldn't have put in the original version, then it's not his original vision. He's trying to please, like you just said, he's trying to please the guy.
I agree with that, but I'd rather ignore what he's saying and look at what he made. And I also, and I don't mean to be hypocritical, I also understand that in a way I'm not doing that because I'm looking at the bigger picture with all the fans and stuff. But you got to be realistic about it. We know that he's making this for his fans. I don't know. It's complicated.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. I'm just looking at it as a movie. I'm like, this stuff shouldn't be here.
Real quick, John Kelling put in a $2 super chat. He said, Snyder thinks the black suit looks edgy, not me. So he was just clarifying his last super chat.
Oh, okay. Mr. Early says, Zach answers a lot of fan questions on Vero. He even addressed the Phantom Zone thing. I don't recall how he explained it. That's probably what people are doing. They're hearing things he said and throwing that at us as evidence. And guys, if it's not in the movie, to me, it doesn't count. And there's nothing you're going to say that's going to change my mind on that. It's not in the movie. And it's really easy to just make up stuff retroactively. That's unprofessional, and it's really immature and unbecoming of a writer or a director. You just don't do that. You let the piece be the piece. And if it doesn't make sense now, and you're still making more of the thing, then you try to address it later. It's preposterous that he had places in this where he could have addressed some of that stuff, and he didn't do it.
All right. Game Station 3 gave a $4.99 super chat, but he retracted it, so I'm going to respect his wishes. But thanks for the $4.99. But then he did put another one in after that. It says, Cap, there are some things about the BBS review that you missed. It was explained that Clark sent ring.
I'm sure there were.
It was explained that Clark sent the ring to the Kent farm to surprise her.
Oh, no, I didn't miss that. I just think it's dumb.
Cool.
Sorry. Yeah. No. I know. That's a weird thing to surprise her. Is that how he's going to propose? She opens a packet? Like, no, he's going to go there. You could surprise her by bringing the ring there to her. That's how you propose. That doesn't make sense. I'm gonna surprise my fiance by in the mail. By the way, when I'm Superman, I'm gonna send it through postage to the Kent farm to my mom, and then I'm gonna either. I guess, like you said, I don't know what surprise her means. Was he going to go there to the farm and propose there, and he couldn't bring it with him? I don't understand that. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, Cap, obviously he and Lois are gonna go for a night to visit Martha, and then he's gonna be like, "Hey, Lois, my mom doesn't want to open this package. Do you want to go open it for her?" And Lois will open it and be like, "Oh, it's a ring."
And Anime says behind her on his knee.
Exactly.
Let me address this real quick. Anime says Snyder wasn't being immature. The fans were asking him questions. What I mean is, he's being immature if he is pretending like things were in the movie that aren't in the movie. If he's saying, this is what we intended, sorry it didn't come across, or I wish this had gotten worked in, this was the logic behind it, but I realize it's not in the movie. I listened to him for 3 hours in his BVS commentary, talking about, like, giving me like a lecture about what the movie's about, almost as if he didn't make it, and like he was analyzing the product himself and explaining all these things that are nowhere in the movie. That's what I'm calling immature, and I'm just calling it like I'm seeing it. That's not what you do as a filmmaker. It's fine to say that's what I intended, but you have to acknowledge that there's no way anybody would catch it. When we get to the end of that and he says, like, Superman, like cries out when he dies, and that's what, activates the mother boxes or whatever. And I don't even think in that he said activates the mother boxes. I think he acted like Steppenwolf and everybody heard it. But I don't remember. I'm not like, because it's been so long now since I heard that. But like, he's not saying in that commentary that later that's going to be explained. That does happen, but he's talking about it like I, the viewer, should somehow be picking up on that.
I have so many notes about the mother boxes. Yeah, I have a lot of notes.
You want to get into it?
I got a lot of stuff with
I might have questions about that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do it up.
Sorry, what was that, DJ?
No, go ahead. I was just going to see if we had questions about that in the super chats.
Oh, hold on. Professor Zoom. He didn't want Lois to stumble on the ring, so he sent it. Do they even live together?
Yeah, they live in that apartment.
Okay, I never found that to be completely clear.
Well, real quick before...
It was a little more clear in this, because I think she's still in that apartment, but in BVS, I was not sure about that. But, like, okay, maybe, and I don't mean to be all nitpicky about it, but, like, you can't put it in your wallet, you can't, like, I don't know. I think that's kind of... And at the very least, he put it in postage, he's Superman. Like, I don't know.
Just fly it there, yeah, that's what we were saying. So, real quick, before we get off, GameStation 3 actually had another super chat right after that, which is the same thing. We can assume he didn't want her to accidentally find it in the apartment, and Clark was planning to propose when they were visiting back in Smallville.
I didn't mean to get on this, by the way. This has nothing to do with the Snyder Cut, but yeah.
Yeah, this was a super chat from a long time ago. But yeah, okay. I think your problem with it wasn't that he put it with his mom, but they didn't just fly it there, that he like mailed it in the mail, which would take much longer.
That was the bigger thing. I did not pick up on the idea that he was afraid that Lois would find it, but I just don't think the movie makes it clear enough that they actually live together. And also, they never hardly get a scene together.
Yeah, they don't talk. So, as far as the mother boxes go, this is like the dictionary definition of a nitpick. So I'm just going to start with this.
So was the ring thing, by the way. That was nitpicky. And by the way, folks that complained that I don't mean to just keep going back to that. Folks that complained that with the rewind I was doing a lot of nitpicking. Admittedly, some of the stuff I threw in there was nitpicking. I'm looking at it scene to scene, and there's interesting little like nuggets and things that I didn't notice before that I felt like commenting on. I feel like that's my prerogative. I don't feel like my reviews have to be just the big broad stroke stuff. I get real in depth, and that was the most in depth I've ever gotten because I'm going scene to scene and sometimes moment to moment. If you don't like that I did that, I guess I apologize, but that's what I wanted to do, and so I wrote about it. Like, just found things I found interesting. I wrote about them.
those weird nitpicks is like the Snyder factor, though. That's what's interesting about his movies. Is he has these weird.
That's the other thing too. Is that
one of these weird moments.
Individually, some of that is nitpicking. Putting all that all together, it isn't, because they stack up and become part of the problem.
Yes, exactly. No, and like that's kind of what I have so many like weird moments that I've like. All of these are nitpicks, but together it's like there's a common theme of weird details that you can't help but notice. One of which is when Queen Hippolyta, my mother Connie Nielsen, shows up, and she says, "It has slept for thousands," referring to the mother box. "It has slept for thousands of years since the first age. Why did it wake at all?" And then the mother box just turns off, and then the random Amazon's like, "Maybe it's going back to sleep." And then Hippolyta dramatically turns, walks towards her, and says, "Evil does not sleep. It waits." Hey, you're the one talking in sleep version. Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's weird. Like, that's just like, we want it to be dramatic and like, oh, it's not sleeping because it's evil. It's wait, but she was just saying it slept for thousands of years and it woke. Speaking of sleep, let's get into this. So while you're watching it, you think, wait, hold on. Does every world have 3 mother boxes?
Yeah.
Because Steppenwolf seems to know that there are 3 on this planet, and one called out to him. That's what he says.
Oh, no. There's an answer for it, and it's very stupid.
And then we find out that the mother boxes were brought to Earth by Darkseid, which is why the Atlanteans, the Amazons, and the tribes of men have them. But then Steppenwolf, how has Steppenwolf been conquering worlds without the mother box?
That's what I don't get.
To create a unity, and then later when Wonder Woman goes to some place that I don't know where it is and finds all the answers and is explaining it to Bruce, she's like, referring to the mother boxes, falling asleep, awaiting there, as in the apocalypse return. Like they fell asleep awaiting their return. But that's paradoxical because Steppenwolf is only here because the mother boxes woke up. They didn't wake up because Steppenwolf was coming back. He came back because Steppenwolf heard them.
So that's not. Hold on. Let me address that for a second. But that is not necessarily a contradiction. The idea
like he's
that
giving a sermon right
but
now.
But hold on, the idea that they're waiting and that
casting a spell
and that they won't. That doesn't mean that it's the only thing that might wake them up. The Superman dying is waking them up is dumb, but that wouldn't necessarily mean that's the only thing that could wake them up.
And then later,
okay.
Batman's like, I think they were scared of him. They've been asleep for thousands.
No, I know that part doesn't make any sense.
How did that wake them up? Why were they scared of him?
No, I don't understand that. That part makes no sense. But it's not a paradox that they wouldn't. That the thing they're waiting for is Steppenwolf coming back, but something else wakes them up. That's not a paradox.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying with what Wonder Woman says is like, well, they fell asleep waiting for their return.
Right.
And so it's like, why would
Superman
just
exposition.
try and
That's what
wake him up?
happened.
He's just some dude who has powers.
No, you're right, but that's a separate issue. That part is dumb. Yeah. The thing that actually wakes them up being Superman's death and the idea that they're afraid of him, that is really stupid. I don't understand it, and it is built on a faulty premise, absolutely. But I don't agree with that being a paradox.
Okay, yeah, maybe not, but I just wanted to say paradoxical, but maybe it's not a paradox. But like, I don't know, it's weird that she says it one way, and then like the next information we get about the mother box, like it feels like they forgot about that and they wanted a new reason.
Well, on the other hand, I'll tell you a way that it might be contradictory the more I'm thinking about it. If the reason he doesn't come back yet is because he wouldn't return unless they woke up.
By the way,
there is that, so you might be right. Once we get to that, yeah.
Like Earth is like he's like, oh my god, I found the world that fought back. So did Ares' axe give like Darkseid Alzheimer's or something?
Okay, yeah.
That's where that you lost. Like, do they not have like a map or something?
No, it's worse than that, Connor.
What's up?
Because it's worse than that. Because when Darkseid lands, he like hits his thing down and it does the like anti-life equation thing that Steppenwolf dreams about. when he realizes that's where it is. So he knows the anti-life equation is on Earth. He leaves his mother boxes there, which he needs for his plans, and he like almost dies there, and then he leaves, and all of them forget.
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. No, they all just forgot where it was, and see, I'm confused about that because like he takes the. Did he have the anti-life equation? Plop it down. Is that what him doing that was? And then he's like, oh well, I guess I don't got no anti-life equation anymore. We gotta go. We lost it. I don't know what it because the way it felt to me was like Steppenwolf's in the middle of fighting the League, and then he's like, hold on guys, I'm getting a Skype call. Bye-bye. And then so he leaves, and then he's like, come on, motherbox, why'd you call me? I was in the middle of fighting some superheroes. Then it like, does he get teleported to that field, or is he like having a weird vision? I don't know what's exactly going on there, but then like he finds like that Omega symbol, and he's like, I found the anti-life equation. Like that is like such an awkward way of introducing that plot element.
And we're already dealing with these MacGuffins, and then he goes, "Oh, I found a new MacGuffin."
Exactly.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and just what a way to introduce Darkseid, by the way, where he shows up and is like, "Look how cool I am," and then like almost dies, and almost gets killed by the villain Wonder Woman beats single-handedly in her own movie.
Yeah.
Great. I'm very worried about him showing up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, him getting beaten in the past was way too easy. Certainly.
You know what though? That's actually one of my biggest positives though. Is as much as like grief as I was getting the mother box mythology, like there is no way to make me roll my eyes and not care as like bringing in like a pantheon of an existing like god pantheon into like your own mythology, because usually that means people in bad togas like pretending to be like, oh, I'm Zeus, I am like that's like what like gods of Egypt was, and it's like then it feels weirdly cheap and lazy, but like I don't know, it felt like I was actually watching Zeus fight Darkseid, and I thought that was actually kind of cool and did feel somewhat mythic. So I'll give that whole sequence kind of a. It is weird that like the villain that Wonder Woman defeated single-handedly like takes out Darkseid, but I don't know, that whole scene I actually kind of liked more than I thought I would.
The only thing I could possibly buy with the whole losing a planet thing is if the problem is boom tube travel. And if it is, that needs to be talked about. If the idea is they can set up boom tubes and go to different universes, but they don't actually have the real coordinates of where they are, so they can boom tube over to some place, and maybe they somehow have a way to boom tube back, but then you'd think that they could go back and forth again. I just, like, if somehow you could convince me that the issue is boom tubing, because when you get to the end of the movie, Darkseid says, well, we're going to do it the old-fashioned way now. We're going to take our armadas, and I don't know that they're going to boom tube at that point. Maybe they just travel through space at that point. I'm really not sure. But if the issue is the way they're traveling, I could be made to believe losing a planet.
Okay.
That's a Stargate thing. It's possible to like lose where coordinates are in with something like a Stargate, because all you have is the coordinates. All you have is like two gates that are basically a wormhole between two galaxies or two planets, and you can get to that planet, but you don't actually know where it is spatially. So you couldn't like get in a ship and travel there. So if you did something like that somehow, I could be made to buy it. And I think maybe that's what they think they're doing.
Okay.
But it's not in the movie. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that you could make that work. But I was as lost as you guys were with that whole thing.
That would be like what we do with like every movie sort of retcons a little element of the last one in these Snyder movies. That could be like shining more light on that.
So we need the Darkseid film, Dude, Where's My Mother Boxes? Where he just goes around like, where'd I leave them? They're somewhere.
But I like and I'm not sure this has ever been done before, but I like the idea of that being a weakness with Darkseid, where he doesn't always necessarily know where he's going. That's like the weakness of the way that travel works, basically wormholing everywhere. Professor Zoom says...
fly ships away, but I don't know, yeah.
Yeah.
It's...
Cyborg's father woke up one box... He's clarifying something you were complaining about earlier, Connor. Cyborg's father woke one box when Superman was alive, and it didn't call Steppenwolf because it knew he wouldn't stand a chance. The boxes are sentient. So if the idea is the boxes didn't wake up for thousands of years, but that scientist somehow awakened one, and then it knew that Superman was powerful and could beat Steppenwolf Yeah, because I'd forgotten about that. While I was
that's
watching
how
the movie,
Cyborg's made.
I picked up that.
How-
But, sorry, what?
How does
That's
it
how
know about,
Cyborg's made.
Right. That's how Cyborg is made.
how does it know about Superman?
Professor Zoom just says the boxes are sentient, but I don't know what they're able to, what information they can glean and stuff.
He had the TV on, and the mother box watched the news and on the news, and was like, "Uh-oh."
It's still a little flimsy, but it's not exactly what the way you were talking about it, Connor. I mean,
Okay,
it
yeah,
is
you're right,
true
yeah.
that Stone did unlock the mother box.
That's true. Yeah, okay. It's really convoluted. I forgot about that detail. Okay, yeah, no, you're right. Okay.
But yes,
wait,
there's a lot of things
I
about
thought
the initial setup that are really convoluted, and the whole like Superman's voice going out in the and like starting this whole thing was already stupid to me, and I knew we were stuck with that, and like I wasn't going to be able to remotely enjoy this movie unless I just kind of gave it that, and like I can't give it that. It's still really stupid, but like that's the starting place. Like I have to basically go, I know we're starting from a thing that does not make sense and move from there. I just wish I didn't have to watch it happening for 10 straight minutes.
Yeah, no, that's hilarious. But like the thing that I'm thinking about though is he goes to Themyscira because that's the one he said that called out to him. But that one was only woken up after Superman died. So did the one that was activated by Joe Morton, did that one awake the other ones, or
no? It's the same box. So he's saying. So the idea was it had woken up already, but it didn't call out the Steppenwolf because it knew about Superman.
Okay, but then this did Miles Dyson's box, did it alert the other ones when it heard Superman dying?
No, they don't. I don't think they
that?
wake up until they find the other ones. But you're right; it is kind of weird that they don't go to that one first.
Yeah.
There is that.
Because why is it
said-
specifically just the one that calls to him?
Yeah,
He has to find the other two.
Right.
Yeah, he put it in. And he's like, I found the one that called to me. So.
Oh, did he say that?
Also, yeah, no, he says that when he like.
So that
puts
means
the one
no. You're
back
right.
in.
That would mean one of the other ones. Okay, I don't know. I don't
Yeah, this is
understand.
very convoluted. Is kind of the moral of the story. Yeah. Anyways, that's my
Professor
rambling
Zoom, the
on-
box called Steppenwolf, the second Superman was killed. Yeah, we get that, but we're just saying. But why wasn't it the same? But why didn't he go to that box? Steppenwolf should have started in Metropolis, is what we're saying. Like, what are we missing?
Why does the one in Themyscira specifically call him and not the one that was already
one in
awakened, or the
Metropolis.
one at Atlantis? Yeah.
By the way, Steppenwolf has like a mind reader. I'm gonna give him this advice. Why don't you start with that? That's all I'll give him.
He's got the Megatron mind reader thing from Transformers 2 that like goes in Shia LaBeouf's nose.
That's right. Yeah.
I love how the chat works, by the way, because Solar Dragon just said stupid in his comment right before Cinematography said galactically stupid, and that one got blocked. So it wasn't the stupid that blocked it; it was the galactically that got it blocked, and I love that.
That's funny. Mutale says, yeah. A couple people always bring up the galactically stupid thing from Lois and Clark. But yes, Mutale or somebody said, I think it was Mutale, that this movie is more convoluted than we thought. And yeah, like, it's just the character stuff, like the actual Justice League character stuff is not convoluted, so the movie doesn't feel overall like, compared to BVS, like a super convoluted mess. It's just the initial setup is. And I went in knowing that it would be
is pretty convoluted, while the Justice League stuff isn't as much.
Exactly. Yeah. Alex409, I think the anti-life stuff was added retrospectively. Do you mean like when they edited the movie now? Because like Snyder was talking about anti-life before like the movies weren't, but he was bringing that up and talking about it a lot before he even knew he was going to get the Snyder Cut. So I would actually be surprised if that were true. I am curious as to how much Darkseid would have been in his cut had it been released in 2017. But I would be surprised if anti-life wasn't brought up in that.
Yeah,
Because
same.
he's always made a big deal out of, and I think this is dumb, but or at least he would have to work really hard to make me buy it. The idea that Lois's death was supposed to, in the future, be the thing that leads Superman to becoming evil, not because it makes him snap, but because it makes him more susceptible to the anti-life equation. So if that's not a thing he's making up years later, and I don't know, and he always had that in mind, he was thinking about anti-life.
All right, new topic.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, yeah. There's so much weird stuff with that. I feel like I had a couple more points about the boxes or whatever, but yeah, we can move on. Maybe it'll come back to me later. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, and it might come up. We have 19 super chats left. So
Oh goodness, do we really? We're already at 2
definitely.
hours. Anybody that needs to go early, feel free, because it's already really late, so you won't be leaving early.
If you,
If I watch this film for 8 hours, I can handle more time talking about it.
Thanks, Austin. I appreciate
who
it,
knows?
buddy.
We may reach the length of the film.
We may hit the 8 hours I endured.
And
All right.
Alex, if you're right, I think so. It was expanded. So was Darkseid's role. But I'm glad if that's the case. Darkseid's role was expanded, and I actually kind of like what he looks like, and I was pleasantly surprised by some of the Darkseid stuff. I'm with Connor about the thing with the flashback, but superficially, it was exciting that he was actually a part of the movie.
I do think, though, because Snyder makes a big deal about how in the flashback he's Uaxis, if that's how it's pronounced, and not Darkseid.
He's who?
It's like the proto Darkseid, like when he's younger.
Oh, interesting.
And if that's the
He's
case, they should make that explicit, because like he also doesn't seem to have his powers and just stuff like that. I wish it was more like we talked about it a little bit more.
Yeah, because if that's the case, then it wouldn't be as big of a deal that he gets beaten so bad.
Yeah, when he also like doesn't talk, he just kind of grunts like he's a weird ape.
It's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Like, why isn't he using Omega beams and stuff? Like, if he's not quite Darkseid, but then maybe he should have had a little bit of a different look or something.
That's when you get to the present, there should be a moment where it's like, oh, Axis is back. No, I'm Darkseid.
Because it sounds cooler. Yeah, I didn't
I'm
know about
edgy
that.
now.
Cinematography just mentioned Uxis or whatever too. I've never heard of that. That is not a part of that lore that I'm familiar with.
Yeah,
I think that
big
was.
thing Snyder keeps pointing out.
Oh,
I think that was from. Okay, I guess somebody's saying it's proto Darkseid from the Byrne era of the Fourth World comics. I thought it was a thing from New 52, but yeah, no, I guess it is from Byrne. Okay.
Well, and then also, why
Didn't know
does
that.
Uaxis show up to like fight these people like practically naked with just like the little crotch armor?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. He's
while
not wearing a
Darkseid
shirt.
is full blown armor.
I guess it has to do with like he conquered plenty of worlds beforehand and just a loincloth. So yeah, this one
Now
needs more than a loincloth.
It would be like if Thanos walked around with just his t-shirt and pants, got the Infinity Gauntlet, and then put his armor back on.
I actually think he looks really good. Like that part where his fingers are going through the dirt, like that looked really good.
That's one thing. In that first trailer, he looks pretty bad, but his CGI is a lot better in the final film.
Yeah, and we haven't talked about this yet, but I was surprised to not find Steppenwolf lame in this cut. I don't know how you guys are with that,
I still
but
find Steppenwolf lame.
okay. Well, I thought he was kind of fine, and it helped that Darkseid was like actually there and around. But like, he's got real motivations now, and I get what I get that he's trying to get back in the good graces of Darkseid and all that. Like again, some of it is just comparing it to the theatrical version, but I like that like more of the Fourth World stuff is actually there, and it's like him, on his own. The whole. I like his like impossible goal to reach. I like that Darkseid is just really arbitrary with planet numbers. Where you have to conquer 50,000 planets before Darkseid will even talk to you. Go. Like I like all that stuff.
I wanna see the prequel where it's basically like he goes to a casino and like loses like a bajillion planets and he's got to own that debt. And he's like, the house owns you, Steppenwolf, and yeah, I want to see that. Yeah, I didn't find Steppenwolf all that. He looks a lot better, but I don't know. I didn't think he was all that bad of a character. Yeah, which is more than I can say about the last time I saw a movie with Steppenwolf in it. So,
I'm not saying that he was like that was like riveting and he was like a fascinating character. They had like an interesting point or anything, but it's also refreshing to me to be able to have a movie with villains who are just bad because we live in a world where people think it's wrong to have evil villains, and I think there's room for it still.
And for like a movie that's introducing so many characters, like having like he has a bit of a backstory, he has like more motivation, and I guess like he has actual articulation in his face, which is cool. Like you see like he's kind of sad that he has to do this, and hey, that's fine.
Yeah.
And so it's like him having like this like deep like thing like relationship with all of them. Like you don't need that because we're getting the gang together, so it's a fine threat. It's serviceable.
Yeah, you want stuff after that to be more interesting, and you kind of worry that when we bring Thanos back, that when we bring Darkseid back, he won't be. You worry about that. But yeah, I don't think every villain has to be like sympathetic in the same way. They can come from different places. Like if you have people who were raised in a dystopian society like the one that Darkseid has with his Apocalypse Empire, where evil is the name of the game and the word of the day, you'd be different. You'd be more like Steppenwolf, and so it's okay to have characters like that as long as I know where they came from and how they got that way. If Steppenwolf comes from Earth as we know it, it's stupid. But he comes from Apocalypse. So it's I'm not saying it's super interesting, but it's not a bad thing to have. Professor Zoom, all 3 boxes were triggered, but only the one on Themyscira was able to fully wake up. Okay, I just don't know why. And
Yeah, it's just kind of there at a convenience, so that Steppenwolf has to hunt the other 2. And he can't just show up to the other ones.
Anyway, what else, DJ?
All right. 5590 ERS, 499 Snyder Cut Darkseid or MCU Thanos. Which is better in your opinion?
I'm not gonna compare them. I'm not gonna get into that. We have not had a Darkseid movie. It would be like asking me that question if Darkseid had an entire movie and all we had from Thanos was from Guardians of the Galaxy. Like I don't have enough to go on. He needs a story first. Like I've seen a whole story with Thanos.
Yep. We did open Infinity War with Thanos almost being killed, so that's at least something.
All right, back from Checkers the Inventor. The slow-mo and extended scenes, I think you have to just let wash over you and embrace the mythic grandeur on display.
And that's just going to be up to you if you think it's grandeur-ish enough, like...
Mm-hmm.
I'll go this far. If more of that stuff had come after some of the character work, I probably would have appreciated it more. But we're introducing everything that way, and it kind of just feels like I just kind of find myself wanting to press the fast forward button.
Yeah, when this thing started, like the first 2 or so hours, I was like, even for Snyder, this is a lot of slow-mo, and that's like I get that it's a part of his style. And sometimes like I have directors I like because I like their style, and just watching it, their movies wash over me and it gives me a mood, and I just like being in that mood. Like I get why people would like it, but I don't know. It doesn't have that effect on me that I guess it has on other people.
Yeah. Odd Man Out Inc. 499. Batman is supposed to be 10 steps ahead of everyone in the room, but he just comes off incompetent here. Might just be the performance from Affleck.
In what way is he incompetent? Would be my question to that. I thought in Austin, like did you pick up on anything in particular where it's like Batman's being an idiot in this movie that I'm just not thinking of right now in the moment as we've switched gears here?
Nothing that's coming to my mind, but like this is a little different, but I think the Lois thing when Superman comes back makes more sense in the theatrical cut, where Batman like stages it so that she's going to be able to show up if they need her, because he already knows that she's the key. While in here, she just is there. She's just like, oh,
yeah,
he's back. It's just kind of lucky that they're both
convenient timing.
there at the same time.
It helps a tiny bit for me on a second viewing that we introduced earlier the idea that she goes to see that cop every day and gives him coffee. So it's a little bit less contrived than I thought it was, just because we at least know what the odds are in a day that they would both be in that place at the same time. But it's still a little bit too easy. Having said that, I still prefer it here than I do in the theatrical version, just because I didn't like the whole framing of all of that. Like, oh, Lois, the big guns, and he doesn't tell anybody that's what he's going to do for no reason at all, except just for the audience to go, oh, yay, Lois, and the whole key, because we're supposed to love that. Like, it still is that. That's still why it happens. I just like that nobody talks about it. I really appreciate that. But, yeah.
Well, it makes more sense to me that Batman already knows she's the key. Like, it makes more sense to me that he'd whip her out to be like, throw her at Superman, because she's the one that keeps him good. I noticed the cop thing the first time. It's still too convenient for me that both of them are happening at the same time.
It's also more convenient because this is the last time. I'm over him now, and this is the last time.
Oh well, there's that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't the cop? Isn't that the guy who plays Jimmy Olsen in the original Superman?
Yes, he is in this. I'm not sure if that's who that is, but he is in this movie.
It was pretty cool. He didn't get shot in the face, so that was
nice. Blue Ranger X11 back $5 it's at a 75%.
John Kelling might be arguing with you. I'm not totally sure, Austin, but he says, assuming that he's talking about, I think he's talking about, he says he has no idea what it means. He's missing context. He might be saying that as far as the whole key thing goes, and I kind of have that thought where it's like I can see him going, well, I know that Flash must mean Lois. Well, maybe. It's just that Snyder talks about it more than it's actually in the movie. But the whole thing with, like, if Lois dies, Superman goes dark. I could see him maybe making the leap to, if that's the case, maybe she would, like, having her there would break him out of this whole thing. But I can see why people would think that was a little bit of a leap, Austin. Like, we don't have
any
discussion about all of that.
Talk about how Lois is Superman's world.
Say it again.
Or is that in the theatrical cut?
No, say that again.
I watched both of them close together, so some of it's bleeding together a bit.
I didn't hear what you said, though.
Oh, I said, isn't there a moment where Bruce and Diana talk about how Lois is Superman's world, like all that stuff? Or is that theatrical cut?
No, yeah, you're right. That is in this.
Because, like I said, I watched that the night before I watched.
But you're right. That particular conversation is in this version.
Mm-hmm. So
you're right about that. Where she says, like, everybody has a... And you know what? Now that you say that, yeah. Now that you say that, that's actually the only reason that they have that conversation, because it is kind of weird that the only person he tells about the dream is Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'd think he would talk about Flash,
how do he and Flash never sit down and have a conversation about it? And how do we not... I thought it was weird that Flash doesn't actually go to the future and see the future stuff. Or have, like... I guess he kind of had... We see flashes of it, but I don't know if Flash himself is actually seeing any of those. I know, I'm saying Flash a lot. But I really thought we were going to do that whole thing, where, like, we'd finally tie all that together by Flash himself sees stuff Batman saw, so then they can have a conversation about it. And we set up moments where it would be really easy to do that, and then we don't do it. I kind of wish that had happened, but...
Mm-hmm. Well, and then Cyborg sees that apocalyptic world. It's weird he never mentions that either.
He never mentions what?
Because he sees the flash of, like, the world being destroyed if they bring back Superman. When they're bringing him back to life.
Yeah.
That's when the computer's like, you made this future real. It's weird that Cyborg never talks about it either.
Yeah, and how does the computer have cosmic awareness? And that was the most BVS Snyder thing, I think, until we got to the epilogue, where the future is now the present. And I'm like, what is happening? Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, it's very strange.
That was very strange.
All right, Blue Dragon X11. It's at a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes. All the critics say it's too long, but it's weirdly entertaining to watch. Why do you think that is?
Well, every good review I've seen on Rotten Tomatoes is like, well, it's better than the theatrical cut. So that seems to be the majority of those reviews.
It's so hard not to rate it just based on that. I know I say this too much, but I have to have two minds about it. Like, gun to my head, if you went, is this a good movie? I'd go, no. You know, like I'd have to do that. I can't throw my bias out and the refreshing feeling I'm having based on BVS and based on this versus the theatrical. This is about feelings. This right here is about feelings, and this is my feeling. If you take the words away, and I was just completely as objective as I could be, it's definitely that.
Which is why I need my feeling is gray sign, because I feel gray.
Well, Snyder has to thank Warner Brothers because he comes out like the hero on this. Because everyone loves this movie a lot more than they would have if it just came out originally, because of everything Warner did to him.
I think that's true. I also think if this had come out, or if a 2.5-hour version of this, I know I kind of said this earlier, but if something like this had come out in 2017, I think that it salvages the DCEU, potentially, if they make the right moves moving forward after that. I think Aquaman is a better movie. If this came out, I really do, and I think that they could have held the pieces together moving forward. Whether or not you wanted that is up to you, but Warner certainly did. And I don't think the things were salvageable after BVS. I think that there are things you have to ignore to make this work moving forward. But if we sobered up and we just kind of took the good with the bad moving forward and went, BVS was this huge giant misstep, and you have to almost sort of retcon stuff to move forward, but then everything after that really kind of works, we could have salvaged it. Absolutely.
What would Wonder Woman 84 look like if we had released this and salvaged the DCU before
Possibly exactly the same.
Wow.
Because that's the movie Patty Jenkins really wanted to make, and she really likes Zack Snyder and talks about how her movies fit really well in his universe somehow.
When Snyder's talked about how it fits with his universe too, people have asked him about it.
It's so weird.
I think Shazam is potentially more or less the same, but could be slightly different. I think Wonder Woman 84 is probably the same movie.
It's crazy. All right.
And by the way, if I could cut this down to the 2.5 hours that I thought were really quite good, I like this movie better than Wonder Woman 84. Even the 4 hours I had to sit through didn't feel as long as Wonder Woman 84 to me. And I like things about that movie, and I've gone back and forth. I gave it a sort of positive review when we did the spoiler cast, but every time I've seen it, I've had a different experience with that. And I don't know. This was. The first 2 hours are really, really slow, but consistently paced, and the second 2 hours are a normal movie and consistently paced, and Wonder Woman 84 is all over the map. So by default,
I could say
this is a better paced
movie. Rewatched. Oh.
I'm listening. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I said I've rewatched Wonder Woman 84, and I liked it considerably less when it wasn't hanging out with my family on Christmas night. Had a little bit of cinnamon. Whatever it was, and it was very different when I was just watching a movie, and it was not as good. I don't think it's a very good movie anymore. Sorry, my bad.
Ryan Pliskin, I didn't like that. My bad.
I accept your apology.
I didn't like that. Look.
For being the only person on that spoiler cast
it was
who
about this.
I'll go as far as to say if this were 2.5 hours, it would probably be my favorite DCU film.
Which is not saying a lot, right?
It's not saying a lot, but it's
especially
something.
For you, because you hate all of them.
But to different degrees.
Shazam's awesome, though.
And I agree with Austin. Well, and of course, I still really like the first Wonder Woman movie. I don't care what Austin says. But what was I gonna say? I'm trying to remember where I was going. Well, let me read this comment real quick. Ryan Pliskin, I didn't like that Batman is just a rich guy in cosplay in this. He doesn't have the baggage typically associated with him, which is weird since Zack clearly overcranked Batman in BVS. So I felt that way about the theatrical version and had that less in this, partly just because I thought the character was taken more seriously and Affleck seemed like he actually really wanted to be there through most of it. But I hear what you're saying. I think it's just supposed to be like a late stage Batman thing where he's like he's dealing with different stuff now, and that baggage is kind of in the background. But I don't know how you guys feel about that. If you agree with that comment or not.
Well, I don't think Affleck is as good in this film as he is in BVS. There's certain places where I think he feels like he doesn't want to be there, but overall, I think he's all right.
Yeah, Batman is not as dominant in this movie as I thought he was going to be. I think I had this weird thing with Ben Affleck. I know some people have this with, like, Christian Bale Batman. Whenever I see him in costume walking around, like, it doesn't register as Batman to me for whatever reason.
Oh, interesting.
And so it's like I mean, I see him in, like, a suit, and I'm like, hey, it's Bruce Wayne. And then when he shows up in a suit, I'm like, oh, it's a superhero that is in this movie that wears a costume. Oh yeah, it's Batman. That's right. I don't know what it is, but
I had that with this film too.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but
I had it with this film too. When you get to the epilogue where you see like the bat symbol and he's standing on the bat tank from Dark Knight Returns.
Why does he have that?
I had this thought in my head where I was like, oh, that's right, Batman was in this.
Yeah.
So I kind of had that too.
I will say it has one of my favorite Batman shots. It's after Miles Dyson has sacrificed himself.
Yeah.
And I mean, Batman, because he doesn't have super speed or flies or whatever, like, he always shows up late to the party whenever Superman gets resurrected. And, like, there's, like, all that smoke, and Aquaman's walking, and then, like, he walks through the smoke into the room that they're all in. Like, that looked like a comic book panel, like,
cool.
with Batman. It was awesome.
Now that you say that, I wish during that whole fight it would show them fighting Superman a little bit, and then it would cut back to Batman running upstairs, and then it would cut back to them fighting, and then it would cut back to Batman, and he's finally there.
It would have that like intense stare walk.
The guitar
riff, yeah.
A couple of big things we need to address that just came to me as you guys were talking about that it's weird that 2.5 hours in we haven't talked about, and I'm sure we're going to get crap about that later, like, Cap, these are major things, why you're not talking about them. The first is more minor, is the now second, but has become the primary Wonder Woman theme in the score, and I do not know why that choice was made. How do you guys feel about that whole thing?
I will now apologize for the original Wonder Woman theme, which I still don't like, but I think it's at least better.
Are you talking about, like, the choir sort of?
Yeah, and it's both Junkie XL too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had no real response to it.
It didn't annoy me like everybody else, but yeah, it's weird that she has another theme.
Yeah, everybody was laughing really hard about it from the moment it happened on Friday, and I was like, and I thought it was really funny too, just because this would be the third time you've seen her, and suddenly we're changing, like, the whole, the whole auditory atmosphere around her. Like, I realized that the movie has a different flavor, like Connor was talking about, than the last two. So, like, every character gets, like, this big bombastic new theme, and we're still using the other theme also, and it doesn't have anything to do with Themyscira. It's not like on the island, like you could have used, if you wanted to use more different music for her, you could have gone to stuff that we used on the island in the first Wonder Woman movie. It's just weird that she keeps sounding different, and then I was like, she's not Xena? It was Xena music, and I thought that was weird.
Yeah, if it had been from the beginning, it would make more sense.
Yeah.
It sounds more Themysciran-ish, but it's weird to... It's like in the X-Men movies where we changed the score every movie in the original trilogy. We didn't also then use the score from the first one again in X2 while we were using the new score.
It would be like if out of nowhere in First Class you got na-na-na-na-na. And I realize there's some subtle stuff in that movie for anybody that's going to bring this up, because I know somebody will, that's from the first movie, but it's really subtle. Like, it'd be like if the closing credits were like na-na-na-na-na.
Well, that movie's looking at the first one more, too.
Yeah, good point. So it's actually, there's some connective tissue there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I wanted to bring that up real quick. The other thing is, do you guys think that this movie is... Were you disappointed that the skeleton of the plot was as similar, was as much the same as the first movie as it was? Because I'm hearing two camps, of course. There's the camp that loves this movie that says we are vindicated. It is so much different than the original. And then there's this other camp that says, like, we told you guys, even though it's 4 hours, it's still basically the same movie. Where do you guys fall on that?
Well, I was never surprised. I always assumed the plot was going to be the same kind of basic skeleton.
Yeah, because
Sorry, what's that, Connor?
I mean, it was like the first, like before we even got brought in, the trailer was, this is the premise of the movie, and like, so we've already sold a premise, so that's why it is the way. I mean, I just figured that's what it would be.
Yeah, of course. I was more surprised at the stuff that wasn't Whedon, but I wasn't surprised that the story wasn't different.
So that's why I think it's like a case study in just how editing and color timing and all that post-production stuff really affects tone and storytelling. And even if the story is the same, the storytelling is fundamentally different.
This is an exercise in tone. I don't think the story is exactly the same in the sense that it's not just about tone. You're right. That is a major component to this. But we added enough stuff in the background and exposition with Steppenwolf that the context for all of that is different. And different enough to me that I cared more. I was more invested in that stuff than I was this time. So the skeleton of that plot is the same, but in it not just being Steppenwolf and Darkseid actually being around in his conversations with Desaad and all of that, it did change that for the color of that to me. And we lost Connor. And it wasn't just about the tone of it. Having said that, Austin, the big thing that I expected to be quite different that wasn't was I really didn't think Superman would get resurrected the same way. I got duped on that whole thing.
Really? Yeah, I assumed most of that was Whedon like reshooting it, but I assumed it would be the same way. I was really shocked that fight was almost entirely Snyder. I thought the entire fight was Whedon.
I thought that fight would be set in a different location. I mean, I really thought that Whedon did all of that on his own. I hope Connor is able to make it back.
You guys got to go back and watch Blu-ray features.
We see the issue is that we dropped Connor off somewhere, but now we don't remember where we put him.
Oh, that's a problem. Because that's the problem with these boom tubes, man. Well, yeah, DJ, I've not looked at any features with that movie because I started them at one point and they looked really, really superficial and not actually about the movie, and I never looked at the ones that were.
Because bonus features suck these days.
Because I hated the way they did those featurettes, and I did not want to watch any more of them. So, and I had no reason to suspect that there was any substance to them, so that's why I didn't see those. So I guess this information has been available for years, but I'm not the only person that was duped by this because I wasn't the only person that didn't watch those, apparently.
Cap, I found the planet where we left Connor. We got him.
It's his closet, apparently.
That's where we left him.
Well, his mother box called out to me.
Oh, no!
I gotta readjust, guys. 1 second.
Are you filming this on your phone?
Yes.
Oh.
Oh my god, I'm crying.
Okay, let's do another chip chat.
Let me read something else real quick. Mutale wants to know if he and I have not heard this. He claims that Warner Brothers is now looking at Snyder to direct Wonder Woman 3, which I'll believe that when I read it or when it gets cast or whatever. Because the last thing I heard was they didn't really want anything to do with him, so. Who knows, though, because I don't trust anything. I always said if this was popular enough, they could go right back to it. So.
Well, and I think that rumor only came out because we were getting the Snyder Cut, and Patty Jenkins is doing a Star Wars thing. Sure. I think it's the only reason that rumor came to be.
But he wanted us to tell him if we actually would want that. Of course.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was. Do we believe that? Sorry.
No. I didn't get to finish the question. But he just wanted to know if we actually would want to see that. If it's true. I don't. I mean, in a perfect world for me, if we were, I don't know. We're kind of screwed because we've already made movies that don't fit with this whole thing. So all you can really do is make a second continuity now that is the original DCEU with this moving forward. And that can be whatever. I don't care. I mean, like, I hope that I like it more as I move forward, like I did this kind of, or some, certainly. And like, if this had come out back in 2017, I would have said that like something closer to this, I would have said that the best case scenario is you replace Snyder and keep the continuity the same. I don't trust him. If somebody else could storyboard him and write him, and then he just got behind a camera, that would be great. Because I like his visual style, okay, and I enjoy some things that he does behind the camera. But if he has anything to do with the story, I'm not going to trust it. I have no reason to trust it.
And he was a writer for the first one.
Say it again.
Said he was a writer for the first one. The first Wonder Woman.
Did he have story credit on that?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that, or I didn't remember that. If that was the case, yeah. Okay.
Austin sounds like he's used that to argue why that movie's terrible before.
No. No.
I just don't want Wonder Woman bashing people's heads against walls with blood all over them again. Like,
Oh, speaking of the blood bashing thing, though.
unless she has a really good reason. Wonder Woman can kill people. That's fine.
But I also
Just
don't
why
want
did it have to
Wonder
be
Woman
like that?
saving ragdoll children in the street by hanging from a wire. All right. DCMG, who would you have picked over Whedon to finish the Justice League film if he was in a good place? Affleck. Same goes for if we get a continuation without Snyder.
I'm
So
going to give
Affleck
you
is
the
his
least
choice.
interesting answer possible. And tell me if you agree with this, Connor. Second unit director.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. There you go. I was racking my brain like, who would I would just find an editor to whittle it down.
Yeah, but you didn't even need a director. You just needed an
You
editor.
don't need a director because I've seen what he shot now, and there's plenty there. There's too much there. Well, you didn't.
And
And,
honestly,
if you needed
if we have
pickups,
to-
that's what a second unit director is for. And you've already got your editor, and you've already you keep his team in place, and you just put somebody else there temporarily in charge of it. You don't need a new director.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great answer. I was kind of wondering about my answer, but you answered it perfectly. Yeah.
I've got
Thanks,
an
man.
answer.
Oh no, go ahead, Austin.
I would give it to the brothers Strauss, who directed the Crawling music video for Linkin Park.
Perfect.
That's who should pick that one up.
All right, Anthony Cabrera, 199, liked the film, but Superman was still the worst thing.
I don't think Superman was the worst thing. I felt like it was closer to the theatrical version than I thought it would be, in that he comes back and feels like Superman to me. He's still monosyllabic and doesn't get to say very much, doesn't get to do a whole lot. But he's happy being a superhero. He's smiling a little bit. He's doing his job.
He still has the thing where he makes the league superfluous against Steppenwolf.
He does have that a little bit, but not as bad. I don't
Not
think.
as bad because they have like different roles. Like the Flash is a thing he's doing, but like Wonder Woman and Aquaman are fighting Steppenwolf, and Superman steps in, and they just stand in the background for the rest of the climax.
That's true, but
Well, he just pummels him.
that's
Yeah,
true.
and
But
Batman's like standing at the top of like the silo, just watching them at that point.
sure, but the thing is, and like I get why you're making fun of that, but at the same time, like you're never gonna have like a perfectly balanced team, and there's plenty of team superhero stories in comics and otherwise where you like tag team, you like pass the ball off, right? Like you bench somebody. It's gonna be really difficult with this situation to contrive something for all six of them to be doing constantly the entire time. I think that the point of those two characters in that scene is to like subdue Steppenwolf long enough for Superman to get there, and they do that. Because they make. It's nice that I know what's happening with each of those characters as that's going on. Like, they're not just arbitrarily fighting Steppenwolf for a minute and then Superman shows up. If they weren't there, Steppenwolf would have gotten to Cyborg while he's trying to do the thing he's doing. They're keeping him away from Cyborg. They are accomplishing something until Superman shows up.
I agree, but I think once Superman shows up, he shouldn't be able to just bounce Steppenwolf around like he's Quicksilver in that Apocalypse scene.
I agree with that.
And then he's just beating Steppenwolf into the ground.
But
like
Austin, that's the problem with the whole premise, like from the beginning. Like, I think they should all three be equally powered. Like, they're all mythic gods. They should, especially Wonder Woman in this universe is ridiculously powerful. They should all be equal, but because they set it up that Steppenwolf won't even come out of the closet unless Superman's dead. Like, this Superman is so friggin' powerful that like he has to be able to just crush Steppenwolf immediately, because that's the whole way they set up the movie.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. Yeah, the idea is he wouldn't have even shown up if Superman wasn't there. So if it's that hard for Superman to take him out, then he'd be like, I don't know what I was worried about.
Yeah, if you didn't have that whole thing in the beginning, then I would have liked them three being equally powered. It takes all three of them to beat Steppenwolf. That's how it should have been. But the wailing in the beginning.
I mean, it's better than it is in the theatrical version, which I know is damning with faint praise. But I mean, that one was just all right. Superman will take care of it. He'll save more people than the Flash. He'll take care of Steppenwolf. He'll be there to help Cyborg do his thing. Like, Superman will solve all our problems, everybody. Don't worry. He's going to stop people from kicking oranges. We'll be great.
Yes!
But the thing is, like, with this, like,
The fruit kicking is how we know crime is bad in Metropolis.
Yeah. There's never been racist hate crimes when Superman was around, okay? But
There's a
anyway,
difference between Metropolis and Gotham. They're next to each other, but that's the difference.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I think that it does feel more like Wonder Woman and Aquaman are holding their own against him so that they can have Cyborg do his thing. And, like, as far as just an action sequence goes, it's like everybody has a thing. And, like, it's like a naturally evolving threat of, Steppenwolf's getting getting the upper hand, the monkey wrench. And, is Cyborg going to be able to do it in time? And Flash is running around. And Batman is a firearms expert just wasting parademons like no one's business. And you're like, okay, we're all doing something here. I like this well enough. And when Superman shows up, it's not like he just takes care of literally everything. And it's like, he does start taking out Steppenwolf more handily. But it's really like him and Wonder Woman and Aquaman together really take him down. It's not all Superman, which I kind of enjoy.
And I'm totally with you. It's just Austin's right in that it'd be nice if Steppenwolf got a blow or two off after Wonder Woman's whole speech of, I can't think of anyone stronger than him except maybe Superman. And then when Superman shows, oh, you mean by 45 times?
Yeah, and they only land one hit after Superman shows up until you get to the death scene. Yeah, no, I counted when I got to it. They it
was easy to count. It was
Aquaman
one.
hits his trident, I think. And it hits him, and then Wonder Woman hits him, and then Superman just bounces him around for the next little bit.
Which Talia says, but Superman doesn't save civilians like he did in the 2017 cut. Yeah, but with his attitude, I buy that if they'd been around, he would have. And maybe, and we do get, and the movie's attitude itself cares more about that now because it's gotten more mature than BVS, which went, oh, you're worried about collateral damage? We'll just say there's nobody in these buildings. And in this movie, you've got Batman doing things like, go help those people over there, and then we'll take care of the bad guys. Well, finally, you're superheroes now. That's all I wanted. And they are. They're doing heroic things and saving people. So there. So great.
Superman also pulls, his freeze breath out of nowhere to destroy the axe again. It's a different shot, but it's the same thing.
I assume all the power was in the axe. If he still held on to that, he would have actually been able to fight Superman.
Oh, that's what it was. But the axe just bounces off of him.
I like how Cyborg has now saved more people than Superman in this continuity, where the thing was about to fall onto cop Jimmy Olsen, and then Cyborg knocks it out. He's like, you should probably move. And then he saves that one woman from poverty, and he's doing all this. It's like, man, this guy's like a hero. I like this guy. Superman just caught a falling military man and saved Lois
That's not true. He had a whole montage about saving people, but you didn't notice how many he was saving because he did it begrudgingly and broodingly, and he didn't want to be there.
Yes, Connor, look at the people that Superman saved. You can see them in my
Zack
background.
Snyder, the people that powerful Zack Snyder saved?
Yeah. They're all thankful for that godlike being.
I just want to say I'm really disappointed we didn't give him a mullet. Because I feel like Zack Snyder's joke has been Superman's hair is falling off the back of his head this whole trilogy, and now it didn't happen. If you gave him the mullet, it looks like he's going more and more bald, but the hair is migrating further to the back of his head. We didn't get that, so I don't know.
Wonder Superman would be cool, but he's been dead for 9 minutes, and I just don't know if he'd have enough time to grow it. I say that we still have the same time problem that we maybe Kryptonians can't grow beards. I'm not sure. I'm kidding. We have the same time problem with Justice League, but it's not as noticeable. Partly because the opening doesn't throw Batman under the bus the way the theatrical version does. Where I don't know really how long it's been. Alfred says it's been some time since Superman died. I'm like, okay, how much time? But at least we don't have Batman just going around doing his. At least we don't have Batman just going around doing his normal Batman stuff, and then a parademon shows up, and then he goes, "Oh, you remember that thing that I had planned on doing last movie where I was going to go put a team together? Maybe it's time to finally do that, even though I acted like it was urgent." That is gone, which is great. This movie opens with he's been doing that the whole time, and he just can't find them. Wonderful.
If only every movie could have the same movie come out before it and do everything worse, and then your movie would look so much better compared to that.
It's like the Scorsese violence thing where you make it more violent than you want it so you can cut back to what you actually want it to be.
This is Alex Acera, $4.99. Loved it. Warts and all, considering the huge improvements via format, could and should they restore the Snyderverse?
So I actually would like to see that, and I'll tell you why. Because I don't like seeing things this unfinished. And it's weird to get to the end of this and having all these, setup scenes. I'm with Austin. He and I have had this conversation. If we can't have more, don't have all that stuff in there. Right?
I just don't care about getting more, but if they do, whatever. I'm more happy to get more of this if we're also getting stuff like the Batman. Like, it's not just all of what DC is.
Yeah. Exactly, and that's why, and I'd like to see it because this is part of a greater whole, and Snyder has apparently this grand vision, and I'd like to see if I still care at the end, like I sort of did with at least the Justice League characters in this, but he's got to be reined in some, and I think maybe the only reason that I liked this as well as I did was because after BVS, in an intelligent way, Warner said, hit the brakes and did some things like, you're not going to be allowed to have Batman date Lois Lane and maybe give him your child. Probably good we got rid of that. So, like, I'm glad that he got reined in some, and I think that the next movie could have been even better because of that. But if they don't throw that kind of money at him and don't let him do it theatrically, because I think there's a possibility that they'll put it on HBO Max and give him very little money to make it. I think the best bet is animated. I think you make his last two movies as animated films and finish the thing, be it with this cast or with sound-alikes or whatever. But I think there are ways to finish it and at least show us what those stories would have been.
I want them to do Justice League 2, and then Justice League 3 or Part 5 of the Snyderverse doesn't happen because I'm a jerk. And I want it to be just a little bit incomplete. I want the finish line to be in sight, and then it gets canceled.
You know what? I agree with Connor. I want that. I want an 8-hour-long Justice League 2 that I have to watch twice in one night.
Stephen Murphy says, there's still a pregnancy test in the movie. I would assume that that's supposed to just be there to tease you with maybe he got her pregnant before he died, Superman, because, again, we don't know how much time has passed, but when Alfred says sometime, it must have been like a month or two, or she'd be showing if she's supposed to be pregnant. I don't know why you'd put a pregnancy test there if she's not pregnant. Austin, what was the thing you were trying to tell me about the other day? Because all I noticed was a pregnancy test, but not anything about that would confirm that she is or not.
Well, there's like a whole thing, I think, where she goes to the washroom. I don't know. I can't remember if she actually brings it with her. And then there's like a thing at the end where Bruce is like, "Oh, congratulations, by the way." And I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe it was just because...
Yeah, people brought that up in the chat earlier.
Maybe it was just because it had been so long of watching it, but that's just kind of the sense I got.
He could have just been congratulating her for the return of her, fiance.
Well, and that could be it, because... Well, he says it to Clark. It's when they're walking into the house. They're like looking at Martha and Lois, and he's like, "Congratulations, by the way." But
interesting.
That might not be what.
Congratulations on coming back from the dead, buddy.
That's what it could have been too.
Way to go.
It's right after the "I bought the bank" scene. Or it's right after that.
Bruce walks up to Clark and he goes, "So I have a question. I was wondering, when I brought your body here, how it is that nobody in Smallville still knows you're Superman when you had an open casket funeral." I was wondering about that.
So Clark, is Mr. Perry not confused why you're alive again?
Yeah, how do they explain that? He's running around with normal clothes again at the end.
And why does Martian Manhunter call him Mr. Perry? Is that supposed to be the tell? Is it like he's been eavesdropping on things with Lois Lane, but he thinks that Perry White's last name is Perry, and that's like the tell?
I wonder if Martian Manhunter just goes around doing that, but he's like an army general. So he just goes around calling people
I have the
Mr.
same
first name.
Since we're there with Martha and all that, with Martian Manhunter, I have the same question that I did with the theatrical cut, which is so Bruce Wayne still feels kind of guilty for trying to murder Superman, and I get that to some degree. It works better in this movie than it did in the theatrical version, because in the theatrical version he's practically trying to kill himself over it, and I'm like, you realize that if you hadn't stolen kryptonite, Superman wouldn't have been able to kill Doomsday, and the whole city would have been destroyed. Like, in an indirect way, you're trying to kill Superman saved the city. But in this, that's not as big of a deal. But I do think it's weird that since he still feels bad and he thinks of Superman as a friend, that he hasn't that he doesn't save Martha's house while he's dead. He needs Superman to come back from the dead before it occurs to him to buy the bank to save Martha's house. And I would think that he would just do that.
Yeah, I mean, if Martian Manhunter knew that she was losing the house, maybe Batman should have known that. I don't know. He's busy trying to find superheroes. I'll give him a pass on that one.
That's fair.
Martian Manhunter's not busy. He's just an army general.
Connor, I wouldn't think it was a big deal, or it's not even a big deal. I probably wouldn't have even thought of it except that Bruce has been there before.
No, you're right. And he's like, I will save Martha. Martha's my mommy now too.
But he doesn't keep tabs on her after her boy dies, right?
I know.
Right?
Like, I only care about whether or not she lives. Hey, if she can't afford the house, and that's on her. Oh, this will look bad if Clark will like, I'm gonna buy the house. I'm gonna buy the bank. We're good now, okay?
Alex says Martha doesn't tell anyone, and that's true. But once there's a sign on that house, I just think it's weird that Batman doesn't keep tabs on her, like at all.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a little. I mean, you can call that a nitpick, I guess. But I don't know. The Batman I'm used to spies on everybody that he cares about.
Well, when Superman
otherwise.
dies, he should be like, "Sorry for killing your son. Here's $1 million."
Yeah, you're right. She should have lost the house in the first place.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sorry, I killed your son. After the rain comes the rainbow.
Okay, we're almost at 3 hours, and we really need to make sure that this is not the length of the Snyder Cut. So, DJ, how many more super chats do we actually have right now?
16.
Please don't say that. You're making up stuff.
I am absolutely not. Well,
Okay,
we
let's
maybe around
rush through
14.
them then.
We answered a couple.
He said that so fast, I thought he was trying to give me a hard idea. I was kidding. 5.
Well, and there's still big stuff we haven't talked about too.
Oh,
Hopefully
Get
that
out of here,
comes
Austin.
up
is
in
there? Okay, we'll make sure and get there. I'm sorry, Austin. I guess I
Gentleman
can't say this
Murphy.
movie's not dense because I was like, I mean, it's 4 hours, but 2 of those are in slow motion. This will be easy. All right, go ahead, DJ.
Gentleman Merc, $5. What's good, Cap? Is there really much difference between binging this 4-hour movie and binging a whole Netflix show in one sitting?
Read the first part of that again.
Is there really much difference between binging
No,
this?
what did he say when he said something Cap? Like, what was the beginning of that?
Just
What's good, Cap?
Oh, okay. I thought he was calling me out for something. I was just wondering if I heard that whole thing. Yeah, I mean, like it's not supposed to be like binging a TV show because it wants to be a movie, but then it feels more like a TV show to me because it's not because it's long, but because of the way it's paced and the fact that it's broken into 6 the way it is and was going to be released that way. I just think it would watch better that way. Personally, like if you decide to binge a show, that's like a choice you're making where you're like, you can sit down and watch all of it, or it's meant to be broken up into chapters. And this just watches like a thing that can't decide if it's a TV show or a movie. And the example I like to give is Watchmen, because I love that movie and it's the same director. I don't feel like I'm watching a slog with that, even the 3.5 hour version. And like I need a bunch of breaks in the middle of it. It's a movie. But like I said, this feels like a movie once you get to the 2 hour mark, until you get to that half an hour TV episode at the end of it.
And then DGMC, $5. Can't make sense of the nightmares. Premonition aside, could it be Martian Manhunter implanting future visions or Speed Force affecting Bruce's mind?
Well, it is clear that Snyder is willing to say anything retroactively. So we
Well,
could,
how
in a
would
future
Martian
movie, say
Manhunter
that that's
see
what's
the
going
future?
on if we were to get more. Sorry, what, Austin?
How would Martian Manhunter see the future?
The answer to that is Snyder might not understand Martian Manhunter and decide that that's a power that he has. I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how he knows all the stuff Martha knows, unless he's just been stalking her and memorizing things she says in her brain. Like, I don't know. That sentence was dumb, but I was committed, so I kept going.
Balin's Cubicle, $1.99. How did you feel about ancient lamentation music?
Yeah, we did go ahead and talk about that. I thought it played kind of goofy. And again, it was just very strange that we are adding that now after she's got a theme, and there's a few different styles of music that inform her at this point.
Yeah, I found the music mostly distracting in this movie.
Just overall.
Yeah, 'cause you even get stuff like the weird guitar solos and stuff, or Aquaman's, like the weird women singing, or the hilarious piano ballad as he's drinking.
That was bizarre. All of the music videos were very strange. And like there were just choices that, like I said, were really on the nose, like that. The iris save was, the music choice there was kind of weird. My favorite, like you were talking about the guitar music, my favorite is the walking music. And that's what I'm going to call it forevermore, because it's not just funny because of what the music is. And I think if we'd had more of it in the right places, I could have come to accept it more. But what was funny about it was the way it kept starting and abruptly stopping. It would just be like, it felt like a cakewalk, right?
They would stop and talk, and then it would start again when they started walking again.
It was walking. It's like, and then it goes, it stops, and then they do something, and then sometimes they would start walking again, and then they would start up again. It was hilarious. It cracked me up.
Like, the funniest bit of music to me was when it's like, "What's your superpower again?" "I'm rich." It's like a dubstep Mercedes Benz ad. It's like,
oh yeah, and it does the close up of the stereo system.
That was weird.
That had me laughing.
Why was there even music in the Bruce Wayne Flash sequence? Like when they meet, why was there music in that scene at all?
It also does the stop and go thing, because it'll be like nothing, and then like drum beat, stop. Drum beat,
and it does that for dramatic effect, where it's like, oh man, Batman's about to say a thing, or Flash is about to say a thing, and then it cuts out, and it's like, you're not gonna believe he said this. We scored a dialogue sequence like an action scene. It was very weird.
Overall, though, regarding the music, I didn't. Okay, so I think the music in Batman vs Superman is like obnoxious. Like, I can barely listen to like the dun 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 dun. Like, it's like, oh my god. I really don't like it, but like, yeah, but music, like, there's some of it that's funny to laugh at.
I like it now.
I didn't dislike the music that much in this movie. I overall think it's not Man of Steel. Like, that's some really good music, but I like it more than BVS. So
my favorite moments in this were just recycled Man of Steel score, and I don't mind admitting that when Superman shows up and he's beating up Steppenwolf at the end. Yes, I wish that was more of an actual fight, but I had a hard time not getting a little bit misty-eyed with that whole thing, bringing the Man of Steel score back, because it felt like that movie again. And at least on first viewing, I loved Man of Steel, so I've got a lot of issues with it now, and it's hard to say, that I really like that movie at this point, but it still means something to me. And just, I don't know, 2013 is 8 years ago. I kind of have a nostalgia for some of that now.
I
was manipulated in that scene, and I didn't mind that much. So yeah.
I have a similar thing with Man of Steel. Like, I this is gonna make people feel old, I know, or whatever, but that's the movie that came out right after I graduated high school, and the summer after I graduated high school was the best summer ever. And so I always have that tied with that. And so as much as I don't like that movie now, I can't hate it, and I have some kind of emotional
That
connection.
score is
to it
in my
as well.
top 10 superhero scores. If I ever do that video, it will be in there, and it will probably be pretty high. And maybe,
So good.
and I listen to it all the time still.
It's really it's so good.
And Connor, I don't feel old. You made me feel young, so thank you.
Ryan Pliskin said that the BVS score is used for torture and interrogation.
Yep, I agree with that. That whole film is played for torture and interrogation.
All right, Philip Kelton. There is a theme of vows made to family figures.
That is true. There are several characters who make vows to family figures in this film.
I think that can maybe plays into like there's like a theme of like legacy. If like the League is like going to be the new pantheon, I will say that I was talking to my brother.
Yep.
Apparently, like after like with all the solo movies, Aquaman becomes King of Atlantis. Don't shoot the messenger. I may have heard that like in another movie, Hippolyta was gonna die. So
But your gun's not
like,
big enough.
Diana,
You pick up a different gun now.
yeah,
Oh.
and then like Hippolyta dies, and so like Diana becomes like Queen of the Amazons, and like they all become, and so like I guess at a later date, like Aquaman will lead the Atlanteans, and Diana will lead the Amazons, and Batman and Superman are like the leaders of like the tribes of men or whatever.
Batman
and, like,
becomes the president
Well,
after he
well,
murders Lex Luthor when they're running against each other.
Alfred was supposed to die, so I guess Batman becomes a butler.
Ooh. But like I think that when it comes,
I was gonna say, Batman finally just goes to work at his job for the first time in 20 years.
but viewing this as a piece though, like I know that that's for a future movie that may or may not actually get made, probably not. But I think that if you're setting up like the tribes of man and Amazons and everything coming together to fight it off in this like sort of mythic way, the League coming together, I don't think really fulfills that promise very well. I think like it could have felt a little bit more grand and mythic or whatever the correct
I
term
agree
would
with
be.
that, and it's because it's not done.
Yeah.
I think so. I said that the theatrical version, even on its own, turned me around a little bit on Cyborg as potentially a member of the Justice League, or a founding member. At least that version of it. This version. Sorry to everybody that thinks this is stupid, but I think it absolutely solidifies that. Like with the godlike status that he achieves in a 21st century way in being able to control technology the way he does, he absolutely belongs in the pantheon now. The way that's all played, and I loved that. I love that choice. I thought it was really good. And the framing, not the framing device, but the kind of visual device that we got, where he's giving exposition by being like in the historical like sequences as he's explaining them. I liked all that. I thought that was really creative, where he's like, and a really good way to keep me in. And I was surprised because there's so much exposition in BVS that's just really boring. There's just people sitting in a room talking. Meanwhile, he's in World War II holding a mother box, telling you about when the mother boxes were found there. And I thought that was all really great. All the Cyborg stuff was wonderful, I thought.
I thought Ray Fisher and Joe Morton were the standouts in this movie as far as actors go. I mean, Joe Morton's just like an established character actor. He can do this sort of thing in his sleep, but he's still really good at it.
And maybe he
Ray
did,
Fisher,
but it was really good.
Yeah, and like Ray Fisher, like he didn't make a whole lot of an impression on me in the 2017 movie. I was really impressed with him, specifically in the flashbacks in this movie, where he's able to have a lot of emotion buried beneath the sort of monotone line reading. It's like a really good physical acting versus vocal acting kind of performance. I was really impressed by him.
And see, I felt like I was already picking up on some of that in the theatrical version, was impressed with it, but I was frustrated because we didn't get much, and so I wasn't sure if the praise I was giving him was warranted. And then I saw the rest of it, and I was like, yep, absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, I remember you saying you really liked Cyborg in the theatrical version all those years ago, and I'm like, well, what's he talking about? And then I watched this, and I went, that's what he's talking. Okay,
That's what I was talking about.
I can dig it. I can dig it. Yeah.
I thought he was really good, and I thought he was surprisingly sympathetic. I mean, this is a character that blames his father for a car wreck that basically gets him killed, and it's because he's not there to see him at a football game. And I kind of bought the whole thing.
I'm curious how Cyborg's able to like rematerialize plastic and like tape together. But
I wondered that too.
Wait, where does he do that?
It's at the end where he puts his hand out and the tape that he destroys comes back together.
Oh,
it's very
yeah,
strange.
that's right. Okay, yeah. Obviously, I know the scene you're talking about now, but yeah, yeah, it looks like a time going backwards thing, but I don't know why he'd be able to do that.
That's what it looks like, but yeah.
He has Tenet powers. He can just invert things. He and Flash have Tenet powers in this. So
that Morton speech at the end on the tape was a little bit overblown and went on too long. But and these movies tend to do that, but like it didn't verge on sappy the way so much of the third act of BVS did, and I was surprised by how little sap was actually in this movie ultimately. I didn't love Batman's it's faith, Alfred! Going on faith! I don't know if I needed that, but
I mean, I will take Joe Morton's monologue at the end. It's a lot better than the Amy Adams the light is coming at the end of the darkness, sort of like thing that she writes at the end of the theatrical cut, where that's the wrap up monologue, and it's a lot better than that.
Or even the Ares monologue at the end of Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
All right, chicken with hot sauce, $5.
Hi there.
You
just killed Conner. You killed Conner.
He says Steppenwolf was senpai.
What?
Sure. I don't know what that means.
Thanks, Steppenwolf. Thanks for the pie.
Well, is he going to notice me? I don't know. I don't think he'll notice anybody.
Thanks, chicken with hot sauce.
Is Steppenwolf a weeb?
Moving right along.
The Edge won $2. So, do they live in a society? I'm confused.
No, they don't, which is why it didn't make any sense for him to say that in the trailer, and why I'm really glad that line is gone. Because it was a post-apocalyptic wasteland. They did not live in a society.
But Batman still feels the need to use a voice modulator.
It just makes him... He thinks it makes him sound cool. Why does this Batman even bother with a voice modulator? He tells everyone that he's Batman! That's still there. I was hoping against hope somehow some of that would get fixed, but I knew a lot of that was Snyder's footage, so I knew it wouldn't be. But yeah, I still don't like that he's going to everybody as Bruce Wayne. Just because these people have powers doesn't mean that they're going to be on your side or that you can trust them or anything.
Well,
he doesn't know anything about any of these people that he goes to as Bruce Wayne saying, "Hi there, I'm Batman."
Suicide Squad exists in this universe. He's seen villains with powers.
Yeah, that's already happened.
Mm-hmm. I don't
know. Philip Kelton, he was using the black suit because he was hurt.
Christian Markham says, poor Cap doesn't get it. I don't know what I don't get. Let me know. Enlighten me. What am I not getting?
The senpai thing, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
I just heard senpai. Is that what you said? Senpai?
No, senpai.
I heard senpai. Is what I heard.
It's a meme.
Steppenwolf was senpai.
That's what I heard, because I don't know what we're talking about. I heard senpai, and I was like, yum.
That's like an anime thing, isn't it?
What does that mean? I don't know what we're talking about.
It's a meme. It's a meme.
No, I heard you say that, but do you know what the meme means?
I mean, I guess I don't know if I didn't know it was an anime thing. It's like senpai notice me, notice me senpai.
Okay.
Not really.
Well,
I think I
Witness
understand
me,
50%
Steppenwolf.
So, I understand why people, and I don't want to harp on this too long because we've got to move on and actually finish talking about this movie, but I understand why people would make this assumption, but I know I'm not the only YouTuber and person that does this for a living that has this. Just because I'm on camera and have to use the internet a lot doesn't mean that I'm actually real plugged in and involved online. I have a family and a life, and I really stay away from that stuff as much as humanly possible for the sake of my sanity.
Look, I think it's
so that's why if you're wondering how I could be doing this all the time and not know memes, that is the reason. Sorry, what, Connor?
Oh, I was just saying. I think it's a trophy of your sanity that you don't know memes. So
Thanks,
you
man.
have a life. Yeah. Like,
I'm just letting you
You
know
know,
that why
a lot
that
of
is,
memes-
because people are confused about that all the time. They're like, but
there's
Cap,
probably
you're...
like a graph somewhere, like a higher knowledge of memes equals less of a life or something. I don't know.
I
Oh,
didn't know
no.
that we live in a society thing either. I just heard it a few times. I had no idea what people were talking about. Then I looked into it, and it was hilarious.
So Philip Kelton says he's using the black suit in a super chat. He's using the black suit because he was hurt.
I don't know if he's talking about in the comics. I think he means in the comics. That was back from like a conversation we had 2 hours ago when we were talking about why he uses it in the comics. But yeah, to that, and I had just forgotten about that. But to that solar powered thing, I think you're right. I think it's he needs that to absorb sunlight so that he actually can get his powers back and operate as Superman. It's related to all of that, yeah.
Super Billy 499, better than I expected, which was typical Snyder atrociousness, and instead got something surprisingly average. Still glad he's no longer in charge.
Sure.
For now.
For now,
God, that was very scary for the future.
I'm fine with, like Austin said, with a have your cake and eat it too thing. He can be in charge if other people are in charge of a bunch of other projects that have nothing to do with this stuff. I think there's plenty of room, Austin, for Warner's to make to do both, to like just make movies that have nothing to do with each other, and this if they want to.
That was my biggest issue with this initially, was this was it. And if they continued it, we could have had 10 years of just this. Well, I think this sucks, and I want good DC stuff. It'd be the same thing if I like really hated the MCU. Like, obviously I have issues with that, but if I really hated it and just went, it'd be nice if I could have good Marvel movies outside of this.
Yeah, then you wouldn't want a shared universe at all.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Quantum Kakaroto, $2. Remember when Snyder said Gordon was dead in BVS?
No,
I looked that up because I saw that super chat, and I did find articles from like 2014 being like, James Gordon, you'll never guess who's dead in Batman versus Superman.
So that's the reason that he's
James
not there.
Gordon.
And then suddenly he's here, and there's no, and I don't know where this came from, because I saw people when I talked about this in other videos say, well, Cap, don't you know? No, I don't. It's not in the movie, you guys. Don't you know that Gordon is missing in BVS? He's not in Gotham. He's gone. I don't know where that came from.
Well, he was looking for his handwritten notes that woman gave him.
Oh. And then other people were like, well, where was he in Suicide Squad also?
This is why it's so, like, if it's not in the movie, we can't take it seriously. I don't care if a person associated with said something.
Because he can
like,
change it, yeah.
Yeah, like, ideas evolve, they change, you make compromises, and so if, like, Jim Gordon's dead, well, now he's not dead, so, yeah, I don't know.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
John Kelling, $5. Genuinely like that they work as a team during the finale and have Cyborg and Flash save the day, and everyone still dies. Time travel shenanigans.
That seems to be the big like fan favorite moment of this movie, is the Flash time travel thing, from what I've seen online.
Wow.
But
I thought that was cool. I like that.
I like what it looks like. It's really pretty. And if anything could sell me on Ezra Miller as the Flash, it's what he's doing in that scene, I guess. I still don't know what he's going to be like carrying his own movie, but I liked him a lot better in this than I have. So, but some of it's what they gave him to do.
I just watched The Perks of Being a Wallflower last night, which a lot of people point to as like an example of him being a good actor, and he was really good in it. And
yeah, it's a great movie.
I don't know, like I think that it's really cool. They gave Flash a cool moment that's like, I don't know, like the first Flash scene is like insane and kind of laughable to me, with like the sesame seed and like the hot dog.
Right in your face, the sesame seed.
Like that, like one of my friends was like, that was somebody's job for like a year. I gotta render this like sesame seed that's like coming at you like a 3D effect or something. I don't know. Like,
and you know, if you saw it in the theater, there'd be that guy just being like, "Whoa, it's coming right at me."
I was trying to do the goofy like Quicksilver stuff from Apocalypse.
And then
What was
there's
so
like
weird about it was he was doing Quicksilvery things, but he had this really serious expression on his face. I'm like, I'm gonna grab this hot dog, but I'm really, really serious about it.
Well,
Just
I
to
don't
give
understand.
it to dogs afterwards. And I'm not really sure what that was about. It was like, I know these dogs are gonna bark about this car crash, so I'm gonna bring a meat snack. I thought that was a funny line. I always carry a meat snack and then he gives it to the dogs, and I was like, I do not understand anything about this scene.
that
Well,
like
he's
He
trying to
wants
get
a
the job. So
Yeah, he wants a
he's
job
trying to
working
get
with
the
those
job.
dogs.
Oh, is that why he brought the meat snack? Was to get the job?
Yeah,
Okay.
so he's like, look how good I am with dogs.
So
I
for
can
people who
make
are going,
meat
well, Cap's
snack."
an idiot, he doesn't pay attention to anything. That's fair. But also, when after I've watched a sesame seed come at my face and a man in slow motion pull a hot dog out of the air and put it into his pocket, I do not remember the context of the scene in the first place anymore, okay? Like, I felt like I had watched an entire movie about, like, I felt like I was transported back to Deadpool. Remember the opening of Deadpool where, like, he's falling backwards in the middle of a whole car thing? I was, like, transported back to that. It was a different movie for a minute. Then he goes back to the pet store. I remember he was at a pet store. Heck if I remember why.
Yeah, that whole scene felt like a Michael Bay scene where this guy driving a truck, he's eating the big burger. Whoop, I dropped the burger. I can't reach it for like a minute straight. He's trying to reach he's such a slob. He wants to eat his big cheeseburger off the ground. And I was like, is this like for real? Like, I know that
He's driving like 80 miles an hour.
I was getting
Yeah.
Pet Cemetery vibes.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I know Zack Snyder has
Really?
weird moments.
You're going to make a Pet
That's not
Cemetery reference while we're talking about this movie? Okay.
That is a thing in Pet Cemetery.
No, I know, but it's just really funny. We're talking about Flash right now, and you brought up Pet Cemetery.
This better not be like Pet Cemetery, guys.
Pet Cemetery.
He goes to the Batcave, and he's not like, it's a bat cave. Like, the amount of geeking out that he did in this movie was perfectly acceptable geeking out for a guy his age that does what he does. Like, that was fine.
But how old is he supposed to be? That's what I
Well, I don't know.
didn't get.
I don't care.
I think that the editing does lend it best to like Ezra Miller's line readings. That line where he's
He
like,
must be at least
don't-
20-something, right?
Yeah,
I
because he's
think so.
post-college or university.
Oh,
There's-
23, 24?
I think because he gets the job at the crime lab at the end.
He thinks he's old enough to maybe date a 5,000-year-old woman.
That was creepy.
I didn't think it was creepy.
That's because Ezra Miller's creepy. He's gonna choke slam Wonder Woman. I don't like it.
"You want to fight?" Yeah, no, I think that like okay, there's a weird moment where they're digging out they're digging up Superman's body, and they go, we could just do this in a nanosecond, right? They said, yeah, we could, and then they just pause for a second, and then just move on. You're like, was that like trying to be self-referential and fourth wall breaking? Like, what was that moment? Why did you acknowledge that?
Oh,
That
I
was
didn't get
weird.
that from it at all, but I think part of that is because there's a theatrical bit that goes a little bit far. It's not those lines, but it goes farther where it's like where they talk about how it seems kind of like sacrilegious or weird or whatever. Not sacrilegious, but to be unearthing somebody. But I think the point of that was just supposed to be like it would seem disrespectful to move that fast, so we're not going to do that. I mean, maybe they could have talked about it more, but
I mean, that's what they talk about in the theatrical version, where they're like, I don't know, it just kind of feels wrong.
right.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think that Ezra Miller's line readings benefit from like the extended scenes. Like, there's that line where he says, "Don't ever say that to me again" in the theatrical version, where he just kind of sounds annoying. But then giving him like a couple of seconds to kind of take in what his dad just said, and then respond to that, and then he says "please" after that line, and I don't know, like it wasn't as like teeth grating to me. I kind of didn't hate Ezra Miller in this movie, which I did in the theatrical version.
Yep. No, I'm with you. I didn't mind that quite as much. I don't think I would have commented on it in the rewind if it had been played that way. Because I brought that up in the rewind as a he's just whiny and obnoxious, kind of point. I didn't feel that way as much. So people are talking about the idiot driving the truck, like you guys were talking about. It's really silly that like 10 or 15 minutes away from each other, We have two people that get in car wrecks because they just cannot look at the road.
It's like in Batman versus Superman, where it opens with a bunch of people getting gunned down in the desert, and then later Batman has a dream about a bunch of people getting gunned down in the desert.
I never thought of that. I spent an entire month doing nothing but that movie, and I've never had that thought.
I've seen that movie like 12 times, and I just thought about it the last time I watched it. Yeah.
So, what else we got? How many more super chats are there?
Like 12.
5 or 6.
Just kidding. There's 60. Okay, go ahead.
Bill of Kelton, 20 Mexican pesos super chat. Read my chats because I don't have enough money.
No.
Wait,
I think
we
you're
did
still
it for
talking
you,
about
sir.
the black
Yeah,
suit
no,
thing.
I'm sorry. What you mean other chats that you? Yeah, I'm sorry. We've already been well over 3 hours, and we just haven't had time to read so many of the chats.
We'll read your super chats when you fix this door.
Reggie Hustle Jr., $10. I'm under the impression the anti-life equation was not Darkseid's intention with that slam, nor was he aware of the glyphs created due to its size, only viewable overhead, possibly.
See, I can't tell because it's like the exact same thing, and nobody talks about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know. I find that all just kind of there.
It didn't even occur to me that's what that was supposed to be until you guys brought it up. And like, yes, of course, but I didn't.
Well, because they both do the Omega symbol thing, and I guess that's what that is.
It does make it slightly. It does make it feel slightly less Earth-centric if it's Darkseid himself that unearthed it, I guess.
Yeah, but it also just makes the whole Darkseid and his crew forgetting about the planet or where it was just kind of worse.
Okay, what else? Let's get those other ones knocked out real quick.
Super Billy, $4.99. I want Snyder to adapt superhero properties more tailored to his sensibilities, which are mostly antithetical to the DC characters / universe generally.
Give me the Zack Snyder Youngbloods cinematic universe where tie in Spawn and
just give him
the
Spawn.
Darkness.
Just give him a Spawn shared universe, man. That's all I want.
Give him Witchblade. He'll love it.
That's true. You cannot make that movie in 2021.
Oh, I think he can. We're gonna get Isa Gonzalez, and we're gonna give her a Witchblade costume.
I mean, he didn't shoot Wonder Woman as awkwardly and gross as Whedon did in the reshoots.
If he did it like the comics did with Witchblade, the cover of the box and all of the movie posters would be like a really, really scantily clad woman with the Witchblade, but then you wouldn't have that anywhere in the movie. Like, she would be fully covered the whole movie, wearing just a police outfit.
Well, and you do have more scantily clad Amazons in this, because people complained after Wonder Woman that Snyder had, like, there's the women with the hammers that are wearing, like, bikini armor, and you had people that complained about that. So
They got to show the abs, because they can lift the hammers.
Yeah.
John Kelly.
They do CrossFit, yeah.
John Killing, $10. Motherbox on Themyscira was awake. The other two were still asleep during the movie. Steppenwolf had to probe that Atlantean soldier for information, and the Justice League woke up the last box to resurrect Kal-El.
No, the last box was already awake because Joe Morton woke it up.
Yeah. Because he had to be awake or he couldn't have resurrected Cyborg. And that resurrection is how the Justice League knew that they could resurrect Superman. Which, by the way, we haven't talked about this yet, but can I say, the Superman resurrection, even though I wish it wasn't exactly the same thing that it was in Justice League. I mean, I guess the time travel stuff with Flash makes it kind of more interesting. But I liked it a lot more because of the trade-off they have to do there. That was really nice, where it's like there's these really clear stakes. If we bring back Superman, he can help us with this problem, but we will basically be giving the villain what he wants in order to bring Superman back. That's that's a pretty good dilemma. That whole because they have to pay for it in some way. So like you can say his coming back is too easy because and like I had this with the theatrical version too, but I think because of that trade off I didn't mind it as much. Where it's like Superman himself doesn't really have to pay that much to come back to life. He's just for a minute he's disoriented and then he attacks all his friends because Cyborg shoots him with his arm on accident. But beyond that, like he doesn't Superman himself doesn't have to really pay for too much coming back. But it felt like kind of a Wrath of Khan to Search for Spock thing for me, where it was like, his friends, have to kind of like pay a price in order to make that happen, or they're really risking paying a price to do that. So that was good and much better than we're not looking at the mother box that we left back there in the ship, and then the Steppenwolf just shows up and grabs it. This was way better than that. So yeah,
I still have a question about this. So I understand using the laser to heat up like alien metal. I understand that, and I get that Silas was probably trusting his son to know that that's what he was doing, and I get that he probably figures out that Steppenwolf can teleport. I'm a little confused about how he knows Steppenwolf wants the mother box, though.
No, that whole thing I didn't really get either. Yeah.
Okay, so my question is because it's the mother box that brings Superman back to life.
Yes.
So shouldn't the hole in his chest be replaced by technology, like how it rebuilds Cyborg?
See, I always forget that he had a hole in his chest.
I just thought of it right this second while you were mentioning it.
That's a good point.
I'll never forget that hole in the chest because he went
for 1,000 years.
10 minutes. 10 seconds.
You know what that was, by the way? I had this thought later and really wished I had thought of it while we were watching it. It's a Genndy Tartakovsky sequence.
I'm
like
not
that's
familiar with his work. Yeah.
So like Dexter's Lab and Powerpuff Girls and stuff. He will and like Samurai Jack. He will very often do these for comedic effect much of the time. These long drawn out sequences where you'll have like waves of something washing over stuff, and you just keep like showing all these different areas where it happens. There's a Powerpuff Girls episode that opens this way, where there's a I think it's the episode where I'm getting off topic, but I think it's the episode where everybody's minds get switched, and there's this like there's a satellite dish that shoots out these waves that go throughout the whole city, and we waste a ton of time just being funny, where we see all these waves wash over these different locations like over and over and over again. It's really slow, and then the payoff is everybody's in somebody else's body. And that's what this felt like. It was like Genndy Tartakovsky did it. It was really funny to me.
Oh yeah. Oh, hold on. He did get kidnapped by Steppenwolf.
Yeah, because Steppenwolf asks him about it. Yeah.
That's okay. That never mind. I retract that complaint. That was something I was curious about.
Oh, okay.
Reggie Hustle Jr. enjoyed this, even if unread, but did you all appreciate any of Arthur's skepticism, motherly and less combative Diana, and Cyborg's warmth under cold steel?
Yeah, I mean, there's a decent amount of heart in the movie. I don't know what you mean by Arthur's skepticism. Like, just...
He always seems to be kind of going against the grain. Yeah. When everyone else is like a plan, he's like a little...
Yeah, that makes sense. I appreciated some of the setup for the Atlantean stuff that I really missed in the theatrical version and didn't think they'd shot any of, and was really kind of shocked that as much of it was there as it was. And like Orm is even mentioned, and Defoe's there, and I like Defoe's look in this a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, his worm tongue look looks pretty good.
Quick question about Aquaman. After Atlantis gets attacked, in both cuts, he just seems to know to go to Gotham Harbor. How did you know to go to Gotham Harbor? Maybe that's something I missed, but...
Yeah, I have no idea. I also don't understand his armor thing, because Defoe comes up to him with the Quindon or whatever in his armor.
But he calls it a trident.
And he calls it a trident. And Aquaman takes the trident, and he goes and he fights Steppenwolf. And then the next time you see him is at the Gotham Harbor. and he just has the armor on, but like he didn't take it from Defoe. I guess maybe after he fought Steppenwolf, he went back to him and got it.
That's the only deleted scene in the entire movie.
People, when we watched it on Friday, got really mad at us for not noticing that he was standing there holding it. But there's never a place where he gives it to her or even talks about it. I don't know how that was supposed to tell us that
and it's at the very bottom of the frame.
Do we see? Yeah, and do we see him? Even on second viewing, I didn't notice. I had to go back and look at it. Like, does he leave that? Do we actually watch Arthur leave that scene without taking it with him?
I don't think so. I think he just grabs the trident.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
John Kelly.
But yeah, I really didn't want this to go as long as the Snyder Cut, and we are half an hour away from that happening. So let's really try to wrap up if we can.
Wait, I have another Aquaman thing because people yelled at us about it at the watch party.
Yeah.
Which is the air bubble thing, which is that they go into air bubbles because people outside of them can't hear you. Except the first time we see it is Aquaman sitting in the water, and there's an air bubble next to him, and he can hear Defoe talking from inside the air bubble.
I did not catch that. But they do it every single time, in the sense you get. I mean, it seems... sorry, guys, but it seems really clear to me that what's going on is they can't talk underwater because like, you know, they're swimming, and, like, you know, their mouths are closed, and they're just swimming, and then, like, oh, there's a person there, I'm going to go talk to them. Like, we need one scene where they don't do that, or I don't buy that as an explanation. Unless there's some mention of that. And there's never a mention of that, so I don't... Maybe that's another thing Snyder has said retroactively in trying to make it line up somehow with the Aquaman movie, but there's a lot of other things that don't line up with that movie. Like,
John Kelling's Snyder Cut somewhat contradicts Suicide Squad. Speaking of that, Wayne originally gets the metahuman files from Waller, including details on Barry and Arthur. Here, he and Alfred still haven't identified Barry Allen.
oh.
That scene sucks anyways, so who cares?
Look, Suicide Squad is...
Ben Affleck's playing a parody of himself in that scene.
I think we can
I've
all...
seen that in a long time.
I hate Suicide Squad so much. I'm glad that this universe isn't as quick of a hurry to forget about that movie as I am. So that's...
Well, strap in, Connor, because you're doing the commentary, buddy.
Yeah! It'll all be worth it.
I really want to do a commentary on that at some point, just because I have one thing I really want to complain about. There's one scene that I'll probably complain about for 20 minutes. I can't wait.
Oh, and then the last super chat from TH1, $2.
I feel that way myself sometimes.
Did Cyborg say go or no?
And what scene?
Where?
The one where he says no, and then Flash thinks he says go, and then he runs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I saw that. I thought he said go the first time, but then I had subtitles on during that scene, and he says no. And then, yeah.
I thought he said blows because this movie does. But that was... I don't know why that's what he said. But...
Austin's so tired, he's just going to bash the movie for the rest of the time.
Well, I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to.
Me too.
Clearly, Austin has a lot less respect for the both of us, Connor. But
no, like I said, this is I'd say my third favorite DCU film, and it would be number one if we cut the superfluous. Cut it down.
Speak for yourself, Cap. I'm the one who flipped my sign red. So.
Yeah, Connor and I flipped red. Get out of here, Cap. I have respect for Connor.
All right, you know what? Next time, you guys just let me know which way I'm supposed to flip this before we get on camera, okay? Austin, was there any other major stuff that we didn't actually get to that you were thinking of earlier when you said, there's all this stuff we haven't talked about?
No, it was mainly I was thinking we hadn't talked about the Flash scene, but we talked about that.
We did get to that a little bit, yeah. We hit a bunch of other things after you said that, I think, so.
Yeah. Well, one thing that keeps almost coming up that I want to bring up, just because I think it's funny, with the blood splatters, the best blood splatter in this film...
On the Rock?
Is on the Rock, where he throws the Atlantean, who's wearing full armor. He hits the Rock, slides down, and there is like a gallon of blood on the Rock.
Yeah, Mutali, DJ decided not to flip his sign because he's only seen it once and he just didn't want to have to be involved in the actually coming out and saying that.
I mean, yeah, based on the viewing I had, I'm not going to watch it ever again. So I guess that wouldn't be a green.
That would not be a green, yeah. Well,
I just think it's
it's
still too simple of a story to warrant me sitting there for 4 hours. Like, I didn't get enough out of it to justify the length.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a 4-hour-long setup film.
Yep. Well, folks, thanks a lot for watching. Sure appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and end things off now, I think. On Tuesday night, DJ and I will be back with you. It's so weird that we're doing this right after the Snyder Cut with another long one. We're going to do...
I have to watch that tomorrow.
I do, too. We're going to do the Marvel Mania on Endgame. So look forward to that and strap in, and hopefully I can switch gears enough. And I'm going to watch it first again, but hopefully I can keep it all straight, keep it in my head. And I apologize if that thing ends up being disappointing and making no sense. I'm going to do my level best with that, but I got my head in a lot of different places right now. But that's the next one on the docket, so we're doing that on Tuesday. It should be a good time. And in the meantime, I hope you guys have enjoyed this month and a half long Snyderfest we've been having here on the channel. I've had to do. I went through all of BVS in 4 weeks, and then the theatrical version of Justice League, and then this weekend with this. So finally, we're done with this. It's crazy. We're finally out of the woods on this stuff, and it will be really interesting to see moving forward what happens. Because a lot of the world seems very excited about this movie, and it's going to be interesting to see what Warner's response ends up being ultimately to the positive reactions from folks besides Austin. And Connor.
I'm gonna say I'm
Connor
a jerk,
didn't say
so
it blows.
who cares?
No Cinematography. We're not gonna have Star Trek Club tomorrow night because Brandon's out of town and I'm too busy. So I'll have something else up for you tomorrow. But anyway, thanks a lot for watching, folks. We'll see you again next time. DJ, thanks for moderating. Sure appreciate it, man.
Yeah, of course.
I was Captain Logan. That was Connor Nielsen. And then the DayGhost.
I would have had something funny to say, but Connor broke that.
And DJ Martinez.
See you later, guys. See you Tuesday.
Later, folks. Thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.
Bye.